Shellshock presents
Ready?
Sharing with Shellshock Season 4 New Age of Heroes. All right, for real this time. Now, welcome everyone to another episode of Sharing with Shellshock. I am your host, ShellshockPrime, and we are here once again for another episode. This is Street Fighter: The Legacy of the World Warriors. We're going to talk about Street Fighter. We got two new guests and a returning guest for tonight's episode. Joining me first is Eddie Fuerte. Welcome.
Hi. Well, hello, everybody. Had to make sure I wasn't on mute again.
No, you're good. And then we also got Menitta.
Hello, I'm Menitta.
And
thank you very much for having me. This is great.
Yes, absolutely. And returning back after being on an episode back to back, we got Nintendo, Steve and Swan. Welcome.
Deja vu.
Yes. We're going to talk about Street Fighter in just a little bit. But first, before we do so, Eddie, feel free to let us know what type of content you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Eddie Fuerte. I'm a retro modern variety gamer. I play a little bit of everything from the old school to the new school. Some of my favorite series include Street Fighter, of course, Mega Man, Resident Evil, big Metal Gear Solid guy. So that's one of my big genres up there. And for like Nintendo style games, Super Mario is always my go-to. Super Mario World is like my favorite. So that's a little bit of the content that I do. Usually streaming, try to do a little bit of Chivo hunting, but nothing too serious, is just for the love of the game.
Yep. And Menitta, what about you?
Well, I don't do all that much content, but I am going to do something very soon with Mirror's Edge, but that's going to be later. But I like to stream on Twitch every now and then. Big into fighting games, really just kind of whatever strikes my fancy. Yeah, just kind of occasional Twitch streamer, I guess.
All right. Steve?
I do a weekly podcast on zenspath.com. We cover a lot of different news. We do some big questions about what's happening in the industry. Other times we might do a special episode. We are literally 2 weeks away from Switch 2, so we are going to have an episode all about that. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we do stream, we've done a little bit of everything from Snatcher to where I make all the choices for somebody else playing a multi-choice game like a Mass Effect or like a Bethesda game. So we have fun.
All right. Awesome. So, Street Fighter, as a lot of people know, has been around since 1987.
Oh,
what's up?
I'm sorry. I did forget. I am also with a podcast with Cutie Caitlin, who's in chat, and Towns called "I Think You Should Play This." I completely forgot about that. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. We like Street Fighter has been around since like, I want to say August of 1987, when Street Fighter 1 hit the arcades that year. And then like the series would start to pick up once we got Street Fighter 2, which revolutionized fighting games forever. And there was a Street Fighter 1, and out of all the games in the series, it's easily the worst one. Like hands down. Because originally it had two giant buttons that you had to punch. And depending on your strength, it's either low punch, medium punch, or high punch, or the kicks.
People thought it was a test your might machine, and it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't.
It's like pressure sensitive. Like, what do you mean?
Boom.
I just want to smash.
But It did better in the arcades once they converted it into a 6-button game. But when Street Fighter 2 hit, it was not only that it was a mainstream success, like it was culture, like pop culture. Street Fighter 2 was ingrained with it. Fighting games, everybody wanted to do fighting games. Like SNK would eventually get into it with like the Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown. Midway got into it with Mortal Kombat. Then we would see the rise of 3D fighting games with Tekken, Virtual Fighter, Dead or Alive, and the list just keeps going and going. But Street Fighter was what it was. Street Fighter wasn't the one that started it all, but it was the one that made everything popular. So, and to this day, Street Fighter's still going. Like the most recent game being Street Fighter 6, which came out 2 years ago. Although, in 2 weeks, it's going to be coming out on Switch 2 as the Switch 2 launches with the Years 1 and 2 edition. So, Street Fighter is everywhere at this point. Like it's gonna be everywhere like for years. So, to kick things off, Eddie, we're gonna start with you on this one. What did you get into Street Fighter?
Man, one of my first memories of Street Fighter was with Street Fighter 2, the original one, arcade cabinet. We grew up in a time where we didn't have washers and dryers in your places. We used to go to the laundromat and all that stuff back in the days. And so I remember I used to go there all the time. And there was 2 machines in particular that were there. It was Street Fighter 2 and then the cabinet that had all the Neo Geo SNK titles, right? So like Samurai Showdown, Super Sidekicks, Metal Slug, all that jazz.
Ooh.
But Street Fighter 2 was the one that would always I would gravitate to. It just seems like no matter where I went, whether it was the laundromat, whether it was the liquor store with my dad, the burger joint, it was like that cabinet was always there. So I remember all the time it was just like I would ask my mom for $1 just so I can go ahead and not bug her and be on Street Fighter 2. And some cabinets I was pretty decent at because it was just a bunch of kids who didn't know what they were doing. And then there were some other challenging ones where it's like the adult drunkards hanging out by the liquor store. And I'm just I'm just trying to get my game in, I'm just trying to and they kick my ass. And I was like, what's going on? But that was my first recollection of getting into Street Fighter 2, and then followed by eventually getting the Super Nintendo for Christmas with Super Mario World and Street Fighter 2 as a package that my dad had gotten us. So that was when I really got into it, and I've been a fan ever since. It's definitely one of the genres, especially in fighting, that I will always follow no matter what. It's just even if it's not the greatest game, I will still give it a chance in some form or capacity. Oh, another collection's coming out. Oh, the Arcade Turbo Deluxe. It comes with a McFlurry plus 3 colors of this and that edition. I will still buy it. You know what I mean? I have countless Ryu statues. I'm just that. That's how I got into it. I've been a big fan ever since.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shell's grabbing something.
Yeah, I'm grabbing something.
Yeah, he is grabbing something.
You're going to see in a minute. All right. Before I show off what I got, Menitta, how did you get into Street Fighter?
So it's kind of a miracle I got into Street Fighter at all, because the first fighting game I really ever got into, aside from Smash Brothers, was Injustice.
Ooh.
And when you look back at Injustice, it's kind of a mess, but I had fun with it. And then eventually Persona 4 Arena. But the first Street Fighter I ever played was Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Ooh.
Which is not a good one.
Nah.
But I still enjoyed it, and it was fun. I didn't know what I was doing, so I'm just pressing the buttons and I'm having fun. And then when I followed the old Super Best Friends podcast,
yes,
they talked about Street Fighter and fighting games all the time. And it was infectious. And eventually when I bought Street Fighter 4 at some point, and then Street Fighter 5 got announced, and I just really wanted to get more into this genre. And here I am now. I played a ton of Third Strike. Last year I competed at EVO for the first time, and it was
nice.
I am deep into this genre. I love fighting games, and Street Fighter is one of my favorites.
Awesome. Steve, what about you? When did you get into Street Fighter?
I actually got into Street Fighter back for Super Nintendo with the original Street Fighter 2. Played that to death. Played it back when you had to play on the harder difficulty if you wanted the better endings,
Yep.
and you have the credit sequences a lot better. And this was a time where no other fighting game could compare. I had games like Doomsday Warrior and Tough Enough, and those were horrible games for Super Nintendo. Can't really compare to Street Fighter at all. But then, I only had a Nathan's near me, a Nathan's arcade, when I lived on the East Coast, and I never saw an arcade cabinet in there. I actually had to go to like Eddie said, I went to like laundromats and bodegas and such, and I saw the hacked Street Fighters, and I could throw fireballs in the air, and I could throw like infinite sonic booms, and I was just like, this game just keeps improving. Where do we go from here? And then I got to see more and more games come out, and yes, I was one of the people who, as a kid, I was duped by that NES game Street Fighter 2010, The Final Fight.
Oh no.
And I was like, is this canon? And they're like, no, it's not. I was like,
It's
okay,
not.
Ken, the scientist.
good. Exactly.
In the Japanese version, his name is Kevin.
Street Fighter 2010.
Well, for me, Street Fighter, the first time I've ever played Street Fighter was actually when I was like, I might have been 5 or 6 years old. I went to a local amusement park, not too far from me, called Playland in New York, in Rye, New York. So I played Street Fighter 2. I don't remember who I started with, but I remember losing to Dhalsim. That's what I remember, because I remember like one of his victory poses is just that he goes into the air and does his meditation. That's what I remember. But I didn't get into Street Fighter until the mid-90s, right around the time where Capcom was just about to get ready to release the first Street Fighter Alpha. But I played Street Fighter 2 in the arcade. It was the Champion Edition. And I remember playing it. I think Dhalsim was the first character I remember playing back then that when I was actually aware about Street Fighter. Rather than just being small, not knowing what I was doing. I actually knew what I was doing. But I lost to Ryu. And then my mom was like, it's time to go, and didn't play it again until like a year later at my uncle's place. He had it on Super Nintendo, but it was the vanilla Street Fighter 2. And but then my brother and I really got into it because there was a local bodega near me where in the area where I used to live. They would rotate arcade machines like every couple of weeks. And they had Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers. So that's where I really got into it. I remember it was mostly on Sundays that I was playing it, but we really got into it back then. And my brother and I just couldn't get enough. We loved it so much. Like, we played some other fighting games. We played like some random fighting games no one even talks about. And we played Mortal Kombat. But for Street Fighter, we ended up eventually getting a copy of Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, for the Sega Genesis, and we just could not stop playing that game. Like, weekends were lost just playing that game, and we loved it to the point where, like, around this time, because I was getting more was getting me more in the fighting games, because around this time, like, Capcom released Extra vs. Street Fighter. Oh
yeah,
because I've already played Marvel superheroes by that point, and a little bit of Children of the Atom. So to see X-Men and Street Fighter crossing over, because at the time, I was already getting into Marvel because I was watching like the cartoons and everything, and then just seeing, and also collecting the toys, reading the comics. Well, no, I would read the comics afterwards, but to see these two like different video game series, comics and video games come together, and I lost my mind when I was a kid. I was 10 years old when X-Men vs. Street Fighter came out. And my brother, like, at the time he was 7, like, we both loved it. So I was anticipating a Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, and I ended up not playing it that as much as X-Men vs. Street Fighter, but then we did get Marvel vs. Capcom afterwards, but I still kept playing the Street Fighter games. I would play the Alpha games. I was playing Street Fighter 3. I remember early 97 when Street Fighter 3 was brand new. And the fun fact, the arcade machines of Street Fighter 3, it does not say Street Fighter 3. It just says 3, a new generation of Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I don't know why Capcom did that. Because with Street Fighter 3, they made some very, very weird decisions with Street Fighter 3 in general, and that's why a lot of people didn't like them. To think that Capcom almost had a Street Fighter game without Ryu and Ken. They were almost not in the game. But a location test happened in Japan, and the fans complained so much that they ended up just adding Ryu and Ken, because the Shoto character was supposed to be Sean. And
which is weird because Sean is a super fireball, but he doesn't. Actually, no, I don't know. I haven't actually played New Generation all that much.
I think they changed him to what he was because they weren't going to have Ryu and Ken, but then when they have Ryu and Ken, so yeah, people complained. We got Ryu and Ken, so we got the two characters, but people wanted more classic characters, so. We got Akuma in Second Impact, and we got Chun-Li in Third Strike. Then the rest of the characters were new. And around that time, I was playing more Street Fighter games. I got the collection on PS2. Both collections. The anniversary one that had but I mainly played Third Strike on that, and a little bit of Hyper, and the Alpha collection. But just that. I would play a lot of Street Fighter games. I just could not stop playing Street Fighter, and to this day, if I had to tell you what's the Street Fighter game I played the least, I'll say right now it's Street Fighter 5. That's the one I
really. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Because at the time, my PC was not strong enough to play it, and I did not have a PS4, so But now Street Fighter 6, I do have it on PC, but I'm going to be playing on Switch 2 when it comes out. So, yeah. But yeah, Street Fighter 2, when I was a little kid. That's how I got into it. So,
Street Fighter 2, can't go wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So, Menitta, I'm going to ask you this one first.
What do we got?
What is your approach to playing Street Fighter? For example, do you either play it casually or competitively? I'll ask you this first, Menitta.
I would say a mix of both. I like approaching I'll use Street Fighter 6 because that's just what's been on the mind. I like approaching Street Fighter 6 from a competitive standpoint. I want to climb the ranks in ranked. I want to progress my own skill at the game because I was never really good at fighting games, but I want to get better at them. But at the same time, when it comes to just fighting games in general, I just want to enjoy the fighting games. I just want to mess around with the mechanics. There's the staple of this genre is crazy, super cool characters. And that's what I want to engage with. So as long as I get that, I will get my enjoyment out of whatever fighting game I'm playing, Street Fighter included.
All right. Steve, what about you?
I see myself more as a casual player. I'm only competitive among friends because I always seem to just lose all sense of what I'm even doing, any special moves, if I get into any competitive scene where there's any stakes involved. So just playing among friends seems to work a lot easier for me. Plus, it just allows me to play a lot more characters without having to worry I'm gonna lose this and not be in the tournament anymore or anything like that. So I don't have to stay with one character.
All right. Eddie?
I'd like to think I'm more of a casual player. I'll be the biggest smack talker though, knowing that I'm gonna get bodied. People will always. I remember there was a time I used to work for EA. It's in the game. I was a quality tester for them, and during lunch, once a week, we would have tournaments with Third Strike being the one, and I would just talk all the smack that I could. But I'm just a casual player. I like to switch. I stick to my Shoto characters. From time to time, I switch it up and I'll go grapple and use Zangief. But when I try to get into competitive, I keep getting juggled around like it ain't no thing. Like I'm not that good. Like I'll rank up a few matches and then I'll get to that point where you're like, all right, you're at this tier. Nope. Let me just go back down to my offline play and walk around Metro City and Street Fighter 6 and just pretend like that just didn't happen. But yeah, I would consider myself more of a casual player.
Yep. All right. So for me, like, and building off to what Charlotte said in the chat, she says, I can't claim to have played a ton of Street Fighter games, but on those occasions when I did, I often play strategically. I can kind of predict what move the computer was about to do. Doesn't mean I would win all the time. Yeah, because that's happened with me sometimes, because when I try to predict what the computer does, sometimes it doesn't always work for me. But then there are also times where I'm just in the zone. I just focus. For me, I like to play for fun. I like to play casually, but I can be competitive if I really want to take something seriously. Like if I'm facing against a friend who's really good, I'm like, oh, this guy's really good. I gotta take it seriously, and then I step it up. But I just see the approach a player has. Like if I see someone using a character that they just like to mess around with, just play for fun, then I just pick whatever character I use. I use one of my go-tos, like, or I just use like a character that I'm just trying out. But if I see someone who's using a character that you would regularly see in competitive matches, then I would also use a character that you would regularly see in competitive matches, just to try to go toe-to-toe against them and see where I stand in the end. So it depends on the situation, but I'm more of a casual player these days than I am like a competitive player. Like I've never actually gone to like major tournaments. In fact, the only tournament that I know that I participated in and did well in was a Long Island Retro Expo. Actually, no, not even. But it was in the same venue. There was a event called Festival of Games back in December 2022, which because we have a Long Island Retro Expo, which usually happens every year, and what happens is, and then like they used to do like a December convention for like 2 years. They had a Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo tournament, but they had like those Japanese arcade machines where you can just sit down and be able to play. And the fact that they had two machines linked up, so like player 1 and player 2 can get in. I believe I came in third place and won 20.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I won $20 in credit to use on any of the vendors, which I ended up saving it for the following year, which I ended up getting with more credit that I actually won with a tournament a trivia contest that I won, and I used that money to end up getting like a game that I wanted to get. But yeah, but I didn't really play too much in tournaments. I just mainly play for fun. I do love the vibes of seeing other people play, but yeah, like for me, like I also love just going to the arcades and just play the games. And my college years, I used to go to Chinatown Fair when Chinatown Fair was actually a legit arcade, and like they had different Street Fighter games there. Like they had Third Strike, they had the Alpha games, they had like Super Turbo, in addition to the Marvel vs. Capcom or Capcom versus SNK games. Like it just didn't get any better than that back then. But yeah,
You mentioned.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah.
Oh, you mentioned the vibes. I was thinking like this past January. Every year in January, there's the Music and Games Festival down in DC, MagFest.
Yeah.
That they have the biggest arcade room you will ever, like anything you can imagine. They will have a cab of. Like they've got Japan only cabs, like Gunslinger Stratos. They've got a ton of like they had Ultimax cabs.
Mhm.
And like I think the best vibe is going like, and because it's 24/7, you could just go there. You will find someone on the Third Strike cabs or the CVS2 cabs or whatever, and you'll have some good games.
Yes.
Like the back and forth is just so much fun. Like I wish I had an arcade that thrived near me, because that is just so much fun. I look forward to that every year.
Yeah, like for me, like there's a barcade that's near me that well, there's multiple, but there's one that I like going to. Um, they have a couple arcade machines there. They have a Super Turbo machine there. They have Third Strike, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. When it comes to the Capcom fighting games, they have those there. Other barcades would have different games, but when I went to PAX East 2 weeks ago, they had an arcade there. They didn't have too many games in there, but the games they
Hmm.
did have, like they had Third Strike there. They had Alpha 2 in a Japanese cabinet, and as well as the first Marvel vs. Capcom. They had a couple of other fighting games. They had like Tekken 7. They had
Tekken 7 cab.
they they had Tekken 7 cab. They had a cab for Theater Rhythm. They even had a Point Blank cab. They had so many great games there.
Wow.
Yes, but Third Strike, people were playing that. People were playing Marvel vs. Capcom 1, which for whatever reason on both sides, the medium, the high punch buttons were not working.
Oh man.
Yeah, but Alpha 2 worked. I played some Alpha 2 there. Um, and yeah, like I just love going to the arcades and just play. Like I like to play competitively at some times, but I more prefer casual. Um, so next question, and this will go to you, Steven. What are your favorite Street Fighter games, and who are your favorite characters?
So I'll go with the games first. I'm a big fan of Street Fighter Alpha 2 because that began the dramatic battle mode that just grew from there, and it was actually one of my favorite additions they had to it. It
Yes.
just more modes of things to do in it, and I don't know, it took like a kind of cleaner style to me, where everything was very smooth. Um, but then because of its music, every time you put a quarter in it in this cabinet, you would always hear the guy go let's go, and you'd be like, okay, that's Third Strike.
Yep.
That was also my favorite, and I would play that religiously, both on the collections I would have and even the older versions on my Dreamcast, just because just for the fact of the music they had and just the animation. Because this was before fighting games really got that involved with animation since Darkstalkers. They never had, like, I don't know how many frames they used just to throw a Hadouken, but you could see everything, even like the wind flowing through his robes and stuff,
Yep.
his gi. And I was just like, all right, those two are my favorite. In terms of, I have favorite characters I like to kind of watch and favorite characters I like to play. So I like to play as Ken through pretty much every iteration, um, except maybe SVC Chaos when he was violent. But um,
Well, I would
I
say
did,
no character's fun in that.
Yeah.
I did like for new characters I really liked Manon. I like kind of like characters that are very smooth. Like I always liked Elena, but I was just like I really couldn't get into her playstyle. Manon seemed a little bit easier for me to get used to. But in characters I love to watch people play, especially with last year's Evo moment that they had was Hugo. I loved seeing him, especially when they had that Third Strike tournament where he just did a clinch in the finals there. And then of course Q, just because he seems so out of place, but he's so much fun to watch. He's just like a giant Mr. X in a Street Fighter game, just wrecking havoc on everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is like Mr. X. Now that you say that, I never made that connection.
Like he's walking, he's always lumbering and
Yeah.
it's like shaking your screen as he walks, and every time he hits you, he's just growling. So I was just like, yeah, you're Mr. X.
Yep. What about you, Eddie?
So as far as games go, the original is always going to be top tier for me. It just holds a good place in my heart.
Street Fighter what?
But well, no, not no, Fighting Street.
Fighting Street.
Oh, there you go.
Fighting Street. Yeah, Street Fighter 2. Yeah, to the original World Warriors is the one that for me always sticks out. I constantly go back to it and try to like beat it with all the characters as much as I can. Still remember the Super Nintendo code. I try to do it every time so we can get the championship mode and use the same characters with me and my brother used to play. But with that being said, I am a big fan of the Alpha series simply because of the characters and the world it was introducing, and basically integrating Street Fighter into Metro City, where Final Fight takes place. And I'm a big Final Fight guy. Like that's another game that I'm
Yes.
just like super
I
hardcore
love Final
into.
Fight.
Yeah, and so when I started seeing like Guy and like Cody, and then they eventually what's his name? I don't know. His name was Katana. I don't know if I could say his name.
Sodom.
Yeah, Sodom.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, Sodom.
I was like, let me see if I can say his name. Yeah, when they started introducing those characters in there, I was just like, this is super cool. And then Third Strike eventually ended up getting Hugo. Hugo. And it was just like, just seeing that to me was amazing. But the final game that to me, like, I kind of go back because it's a HD remake or remaster, whatever you want to call it, is the Ultra Street Fighter, the Final Challengers, Ultra Street Fighter 2, that came out on the Nintendo Switch. That's basically the World Warriors, the new challengers, all that stuff, turbo, but like modernized with HD sprites. They're all big and detailed. Like, I love that one. Like, that to me is one of the ones that sticks out for me for sure. Yeah, the HD remix, that's one of the ones as well. But then as far as like characters that I use, I always stick to the Shoto. It's mainly Ryu. With recently, I've been switching over to Ken. I don't know why. It happened in 5. It happened in 5 where I started kind of using Ken. Or was it 4? Might have been 4. But yeah, it's usually the Shoto characters that I kind of stick to. I do like Zangief because I'm biased with wrestlers. Like, I like the wrestling. So anytime like Zangief was there, not too big on El Fuerte, despite my name. But Rainbow Mika, like, she's one of my favorites too. And again, like, it's E Honda was also on there. And Sagat is like just a very towering presence for me. Like, every time I see him, like, dude is just like, I cannot get enough of Sagat. Like, that dude is, I know Bison is like the top like villain and the top dog of everything, but Sagat just has that like commanding presence of just standing there menacingly, like not even having to do anything. I don't want to cross paths with this guy. I'll walk around like he's wearing an eye patch, scar on his chest. It's like 30 degrees out there and he's just wearing like short shorts. Like, you serious? Like, no, thank you. But and then of course, like, going back to the Mad Gear and the Final Fight world, Poison is one of my favorite characters too. Like, I love the love that she's getting, or that they're getting, I should say, in the games and the lore and everything. So was happy when she was in Street Fighter X Tekken. When they keep getting introduced into the other games, I'm all for it. So yeah, those would be like my favorite games and like my favorite like characters.
Menitta.
So as you can see, I am a big fan of Third Strike. Third Strike was like I said, it was not the first Street Fighter game I played, but like, I don't know, I feel like I just kind of clicked with that game really, really well. That's like probably the oldest fighting game that feels the most modern, and it's just, I don't know. It's fast. It's fast paced. I love the parry system in Third Strike, and I think some of the characters are super cool. And right now, like Street Fighter 6 is like reinvigorated. I don't want to say reinvigorated. Actually, it's like it like re-solidified my love for fighting games and the genre. I liked it so much. I took a vacation to Vegas to compete at Evo. Yeah, I really like that one. As for characters, no, actually no. Before I go into characters, I also like CVS, if that counts. CVS 2.
Yeah, it's a Street Fighter game partially Street Fighter to the core, because the other part is King of Fighters.
So CVS 1, they are 2 characters away from being Street Fighter versus Final Fight. Not Final Fight. Street Fighter versus King of Fighters.
Yeah.
Jeez. If they didn't have Morrigan and I think Nakaruru, it would have just been Street Fighter versus KOF. But yeah, I like CVS 2 a lot. And but yeah, as for characters, I just want Makoto back. I love playing as Makoto. I think Makoto is one of the coolest characters Capcom has ever made.
Yep.
she's my main in 3 and 4. And I love the rush punches. I love the really tomboyish, super fast style. Yeah, she's great.
Yep.
Dudley, I like a lot. Again, I want Dudley back. The taunt throwing the rose, it's the best. And as well, Cammy. I play Cammy right now in Street Fighter 6, and all the DLC characters are great, but I feel like I'm gonna stick with Cammy for a while because she works really well with Street Fighter 6's systems.
Yep. So for me, when it comes to Street Fighter, in terms of the games, I'll go with the games first. For me, I think that Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is without a doubt the best one. I love Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. It's not only that's my favorite, but it's the one that I love spending time on. Like, for whatever reason, I feel like with that game compared to most other Street Fighter games, like when I play it, I feel happy playing it, more happy than any other game. I don't know why, but just that one, I love it. Even if I lose, I still love it. The thing is, the other two Street Fighter 3 games do not give me that same reaction whatsoever. Third Strike does. There are a couple.
Makoto.
Yeah. There are a couple other Street Fighter games that I could say that are up there as my all-time favorites besides Third Strike. Street Fighter Alpha 3 is without a doubt one of the greatest fighting games of its era. Like Alpha 3, I felt like, because they had a big cast of characters, it's the culmination of the storylines of Street Fighter Alpha, because after that, because the thing is, the Alpha series takes place after Street Fighter 1, but before Street Fighter 2, which is why Ryu still wore the white headband. Although, he should have started wearing the red headband in Street Fighter Alpha 3, because in Ken's ending, Ken gave like the headband that he was using, because he had a long hair in Alpha, and he gave the red headband to Ryu. So they should have actually had it so that Ryu started wearing it in Alpha 3. I don't know why they didn't do that, but from 2 and onwards, like he would wear it, he would still wear it. And Ken did cut his hair. I don't know.
I never liked Ken with the long hair. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know why. I don't. He only had the long hair in Alpha. In Street Fighter 1, he had short hair. It's just Alpha's the only one. Like, he just let it. I think they just retconned it so that he always had the long hair. Like, he let it grow out around the time when he was training with Ryu, and like when Goken was the master. But Ryu used to have the red hair, but I guess like his hair died because of traveling all over the world. It dyed to brown, like light brown, then dark brown, and then now it's black hair. But he travels all over the world. Wants to be the king of the hill, fighting everybody.
And now he's shirtless.
And has a beard.
And a beard, yeah.
Now, like, I need to spend more time on Street Fighter 6, but I'm going to be doing that in a few weeks once I get the Switch 2 version. Even though I have it on Steam now, but it's just the fact that I like playing on handhelds more, and I don't have a Steam Deck, so Switch 2 will at least fill that need for me. But if I had to pick one more Street Fighter game that I absolutely love playing, I do love playing Street Fighter 4, and I actually spent a lot of time, believe it or not, I actually spent like almost 100-something hours playing it on the 3DS when the 3DS launched. Yes. Like, I have the 3DS version with the hollow foil cover, because they wanted to do the whole like 3D edition. Because the Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS, Super Street Fighter 4 3D edition, saved that launch lineup from being like the worst launch lineup ever. Like, at least Street Fighter 3 is amazing. Well, multiple Street Fighter games. I love Street Fighter in general, but 4 on 3DS was great. Even though I already had it on 360, but it's just playing it on the go. That's the selling point. To play it on the go wherever I want. Because it was one of the few Street Fighter games that like I could sink my teeth into no matter where I'm at. But it was one of the few 3DS games that looked like a 360 game, aside from the fact that there was still like the still backgrounds, but you could just turn the 3D off and the frame rate jumps from 30 to 60.
That's the weirdest part, is that like you lose certain combos if you turn the 3D on. Because you can't do one frame links at 30 FPS.
Yeah. But like I kind of wish they would have ported Ultra Street Fighter 4 to the 3DS. The 3DS was able to handle Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition very well. It could have handled Ultra Street Fighter 4 on there. Also, shout outs to all the people who managed to force Capcom to support the Switch by buying Ultra Street Fighter 2. And I'm one of those people. Yeah. I'm part of the problem. But
it's weird how that game was what, like, yeah, okay, we'll give the Switch its own Monster Hunter, I guess. Street Fighter 2 did well.
Right, yeah, because it also featured like the 2 secret characters, right? It was like a Evil Ryu and Violent Ken were in
Violent Ken, yeah.
as well.
And then
so that's the only reason, because I was like, I'm not picking this up. I already have it. And then it's just like, well, we have these 2 characters. I was like, yeah, I'm there.
Oh,
I'm like, I'm there. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've also tried out the Way of the Hadou mode. Like you have to use the Joy-Cons.
First person.
The Hadouken. I'm going to tell you this right now. It sucks. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I hated it so much. I actually tried it on stream. Never again. Because the thing is that if you're streaming it, you have to have a dedicated setup. Like if you're playing like Wii Fit or Ring Fit and all that. Do the same thing. Yeah, because they wanted to try to add a little fitness to Street Fighter. Like originally Capcom, fun fact, they actually wanted to make a Street Fighter Fit for the Wii, but they canceled that and made Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition instead.
That's a weird pipeline.
Right? I think we were better off with Street Fighter on the 3DS. And the thing is, like, before the 3DS eShop closed, Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS would go really cheap, like $5 to $6. That was a great deal to play that game.
I would have wanted to see that whatever weird thing they would do with Street. I think that would have been really funny.
Yes. And yes, Street Fighter on the GBA. Yes, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Revival. Like that's actually a great port. Great artwork, great presentation. The only flaw is the fact that the GBA only has 4 buttons as opposed to 6, because all it needed was X and Y. You only had B, A, L, and R. That's all you had. If you would have had X and Y, it would have been perfect. They should have at least made an enhanced port of it for the DS.
Yeah.
I legitimately would have bought it if they would have ported it to 3DS. But yeah. But now onto the characters for me. So for characters, like my biggest go-to character in Street Fighter is Ken. Although for whatever reason I did not like Ken in Street Fighter 4 as much, but I liked him in like most of the other games. In Street Fighter 4 I preferred Akuma. Like I just preferred Akuma.
That's fair.
But the thing is, playing Akuma is a risk because he has very low health, regardless of how good he actually is. Though
glass cannon.
Those super turbo Akuma is a whole different level that almost no other Akuma can match. Like, though I do have to wonder, what if you had super turbo Akuma face off against Akuma from Third Strike? How would that work?
Well, what was the first game where Akuma had the Raging Demon? Because I thought it was after 2, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the first alpha game.
Okay. I feel like Third Strike Akuma would win, but that's just my thought.
Yeah, Akuma was in Street Fighter Extra Children of the Atom. Like, he was one of the hidden characters, which the reason that he was in it is because that Marvel required Capcom to put a Street Fighter character as a hidden character in that game. So they put Akuma. And they just took
Sorry, go ahead.
They just took a Super Turbo sprite.
Akuma is
felt bad.
integral.
bodied by every character, even Silver Samurai. It was just like everybody could take Akuma down because he was still operating under Street Fighter rules.
Yeah, it was
Akuma is
not the
integral
best.
to the Marvel versus Capcom series. It's like for some reason Akuma is just there.
Yeah. Yeah. If you beat the game with Akuma and Children of the Atom, after like Magneto was like, "Who are you?" And then Akuma was like, "I am the Master Warrior." Then it fades to white, and then it goes to the credits. And in the credits sequence, you see like all the characters scrolling upward, all dizzied, because it's a nod to the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo ending for Akuma, where when you beat the game, you see like the still images of all the characters, but in their defeated pose. So, they decided to do that, like make it. Akuma is basically a glorified Easter egg in the game. He's just an Easter egg. Like you just, like you're not really supposed to know that he's in the game unless you somehow manage to find like a code. Because once you perform the code, the announcer does not say Akuma. The announcer says Silver Samurai. So,
That's weird.
but like Akuma will show up instead, and then like it's it's just funny. Like it was basically the start of everything for what will eventually be the Marvel vs. Capcom series. And real quick, I'm going to show this up before I ask the next question. So I have, and this will be a good segue into it too. So, Nintendo Switch alone, I have these. I have the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, which is from Street Fighter 1 all the way to Third Strike. I have Capcom Fighting Collection 1, which Darkstalkers is the top billing for this one. But you also get like Red Earth, Cyberbots, Hyper Street Fighter 2, like Puzzle Fighter and Pocket Fighter.
Cyberbots is awesome. That game is so underrated. It is so cool.
Very fun. Then you have the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, which
I want that physically.
there's nothing else I could say about this collection that hasn't already been said. I love it. And, of course, Capcom Fighting Collection 2.
Caitlin and Chet. Yeah, 2 is better.
Yeah. What's funny is that like I come for this collection for Capcom vs. Game 1 and 2 and the Power Stone games, but in reality, the game that you really want to stay for more than anything is actually Project Justice. That game is awesome.
Yeah.
Capcom.
Yeah. That I've never actually played Project Justice until this collection, and that game is fun. That game is really, really fun.
Yes. Like, I'll say this right now, my rankings for like all the games in that collection and worst to best, the worst game in that collection is easily Capcom Fighting Evolution. That game sucks. Then the one that's above it will be Star Gladiator. I actually played it for the first, Plasma Sword is what it's called. I played Star Gladiator on the PS1, and it was okay. Not the best fighting game I played, but Plasma Sword is a major improvement. But despite that, it's not that it's a bad game. It's a good game. It's just that every other game in that collection that comes after this are better. Like, so I would the next one I would probably put would be Capcom vs. SNK Pro, which good game. The problem is the ratio system in that game sucks.
It's just not fun, yeah.
Yeah, but great presentation, great music and everything. Then you have then you got Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper. Then
It's an interesting thing to include in this collection, I feel.
It is. Then after that is Power Stone 1. I know people prefer 1 over 2, but I'm the type of person who prefers 2 over 1. Then Project Justice, then 2, Power Stone 2, and then CVS 2. But yeah, Power Stone 2 is awesome. But Project Justice is great. I kind of wish that this collection had Techromancer. That would have been amazing, because that game is one of the most underrated fighting games ever. That should have been in this collection.
Would have been a first time for me. I've never played Techromancer.
It's good. It's really good. It's really good. You all will love it. You all will love it. So Menitta, I'm gonna No, Eddie, I'll ask you this one first. Have you played other Capcom fighting games, and how do you compare them to Street Fighter?
So I have played other Capcom games before the multitude of collections that we've gotten lately, right? One of the ones that really stood out for me, I remember I had it for the PlayStation 2, which was the Capcom versus SNK 2. That one to me was one of that I just really stuck with. I did play Darkstalkers, albeit I didn't really understand it. So it's weird because I'm not saying they're not bad games. They're really good games, but I don't invest enough as much as I do with Street Fighter. You know what I mean? Like I've played the Darkstalker series. I go back into Marvel versus Capcom or like any of those like Marvel games. I always go back just to play the hell out of it type of situation. Like let's just give it a go. But I'm terrible at them. I'm not the greatest at them. I am like absolutely the worst. So I feel like I always kind of revert back to Street Fighter because despite how much it's grown and it's changed, it's the simpler game out of all of them. You know, when you're going into the competitive and learning the characters and stuff like that, it takes a while for me to gel with somebody. And sometimes I feel like it's very difficult, especially in Darkstalkers, like if it's not Morrigan, because Morrigan is basically the Shoto character there, I'm like, I don't care about anybody else. Like I can't deal with anybody else. I can't play with anybody else. I can't even name like anybody else besides Lily and Morrigan type of thing. You know what I mean? And but yeah, like aside from that, it's just like if I do end up playing any other Capcom fighting game, it's usually one of the Versus series. So it'd either be Marvel versus Capcom or Capcom versus. It's either Marvel versus Capcom 2. Let me reiterate that, and then Capcom versus SNK 2.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the and Pocket Fighter. I can't forget about Pocket Fighter. Pocket Fighter is a very fun one. Yeah, I love playing Pocket Fighter just simply for the animations that they do when they change into their little outfits and everything, like when they get all cute and mad, and it's just a fun, silly game.
Yep. You know, I actually stumbled upon a copy of Pocket Fighter for PS1 at a retro shop, but you want to know how much it actually costs?
Over I'm gonna say 125.
Close, 150.
You win on Prices Right rules then.
and it's factory sealed, mind you.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes. So what about you, Menitta? Like, have you played like? I mean, I already know you played like other Capcom fighters, but the question I'll ask you mainly is, how do you compare them to Street Fighter?
So to go to Darkstalkers, because that's like probably like the sister series the most. It's Darkstalkers is really, really weird from a mechanic standpoint. Like you can't play that game like Street Fighter. It's so weird. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Darkstalkers. The characters are also cool. Like I love Jeddah. Jeddah is awesome.
Yes.
I'm really glad he got at least one entry into a Marvel versus Capcom game, even though it's infinite.
Yeah.
At least we have Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond now. So that game, which is an amazing mod. Shout out Max. That is one of the best mod packs ever. But I guess to piggyback off of that, I love the Marvel vs. Capcom games. I think I really got into Marvel vs. Capcom through the collection recently. Like I played a bit of 3 and Infinite, but I really didn't understand what I was doing because like they're so fast. They're really, really difficult to grasp.
Yeah.
But once I finally dove in with the collection, I understand how 2 works now. And yeah, those games are really good. And shockingly, I liked Marvel versus Street, or is it Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter? That was a surprisingly fun one, like that no one really talks about, I feel.
Yeah.
But like compared to Street Fighter, it's like none of the games really play like what Street Fighter does, aside from like CVS, where you've got the different group. You can choose. Well, CVS 2 in particular, you can choose how the games play. Yeah. Like, do you want it to play like an SNK game, or do you want it to play like a Capcom game? Like, you could pick the P groove to play it like Third Strike, and I think that one's really really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to the other Capcom series, like Street Fighter is the most vanilla of of those games,
Mhm.
but it's definitely my favorite
Yeah.
for that same reason. I
Yep.
would say.
All right. What about you, Steven? Like, have you played?
So-
Go ahead.
I don't know what I haven't played from Capcom because I've being a owner of the Dreamcast, you got so much Capcom love, you kind of played almost their entire library of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, it's funny because after Street Fighter 2, like just seeing it evolve, like I liked the evolution, not that game, but I liked the evolution of how what Street Fighter became with the Versus series. I gravitated towards those because I got everything from Marvel characters, X-Men characters. I got people from Darkstalkers. You got those. You could call in partners that were from just random games like Quiz and Dragons and stuff like that, and you were just like, "Where are these characters from? I gotta go look it up." Oh, there's a character from Forgotten Worlds. You're just like, "Oh, you're getting all kinds of Capcom characters, even Captain Commando himself." And then them going with a giant line like Tatsunoko, I was just like, for me, the Versus series never missed. For me, like every Versus game they did was always something like I looked forward to because I was just like, I can't wait to see what characters they put on either side. Like,
Yep.
we've seen Monster Hunter come to it, we've seen Lost Planet. It's like a celebration of Capcom at this point to have it. And Street Fighter is always, of course, like, hey, I'm the leader of that team, so they never forget that. So it's always been my favorite. And I even enjoyed because Capcom went in to work on it. I did enjoy Street Fighter the movie, the game, not the arcade version, the Saturn version, because Capcom worked on it and it still played like Street Fighter should. And it's weird because I was like, that game still plays better than a lot of fighting games that still come out to this day because they don't understand the basic elements of what makes a good fighting game.
Yeah. I actually do prefer the arcade one because of how broken that game actually is. Like you could actually manage to make a lot of insane chain combos in that you wouldn't think to make. But
Like you could do Shoryuken into Tatsu. It's weird.
yes. But let's see. So in terms of like playing other Capcom fighting games and how I compared them to Street Fighter, it goes like this. Yes, I have played practically almost every like other Capcom fighting game. There's very few that I haven't played. I even played a little bit of that Onimusha fighting game from the PS2 that has Mega Man.exe and Zero from Mega Man Zero, and that
Is it called Onimusha Blade Warriors? I think it's called.
it's not bad. It's all right. It's like a decent game, but it's one of those games where like you probably wouldn't really buy. You would probably just rent it at the time. Like it makes a good rental, but but it was fine. But it was basically just an excuse to make like a weapons-based fighting game, which they already have that. It's called Star Gladiator and Plasma Sword, but they could have made their own like general like weapon-based fighting game. That was his own IP outside of Star Gladiator, and it would have been fine. I played the Darkstalkers games. Vampire Savior is the best Darkstalkers game. I've played.
Totally.
I played Cyberbots, and I think that game is pretty cool because Cyberbots is basically the second game in its series because the first one is Armor Warriors, which is a beat 'em up, and then the third one's Techromancer, which is fantastic.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. I've played Red Earth for the first time when I got the Capcom Fighting Collection 1. I've never seen an arcade version. They did exist in the United States, but they were very rare. Because the game bombed all over the place. Like
Red Earth is like one of the most obscure Capcom fighting games. I feel like
It
it's
is.
It really is. It's like you fight. That's the one where you fight the T-Rex, right?
you fight the T-Rex, you fight
T-Rex and a lion guy.
Yeah. The lion guy is one of the main characters in that. There's also what else does he have? You have the Power Stone games, which are fantastic. Like the first one is a more competitive game, whereas the second one's more casual. You just play with your friends at parties. Um, it's like back in the day, like the early 2000s, people just take out their Dreamcast just to be able to play Power Stone with people, like Power Stone 2. You want to play with like 300 people. Um, the rival schools games, but Project Justice to me is the better game. The only thing that the first game has that Project Justice doesn't have is Sakura. But but the gameplay to me is a lot more refined in the second game. I have played those. I've played Street Fighter movie, the game. I've played like both of them. I played the arcade game and I played the console game on the PlayStation, which is the same as the one on the Saturn. But I remember like playing it before I even watched the movie. Like I rented the movie from Blockbuster like 2 years after that. I originally thought that Street Fighter movie bombed. I'm just gonna say this right now. I actually thought that Street Fighter movie bombed, but it actually was a success.
It makes the money constantly.
Yes.
It's weird.
It actually, the thing is, the movie actually did well in theaters. A lot of people thought that it didn't, but it actually did. Mainly because of the hype alone with Street Fighter. That being said, there is a question regarding Street Fighter movies in the community questions. We'll answer it a little while later on, but Gal should not be the main character. I'm gonna say it right now. Gal should not be the main character. It's supposed like it's supposed to be Ryu and Ken and Chun-Li, although
and not played by Van Damme.
although now, like I would say, like yeah, Raul Julia definitely like he had one of the best performances in that movie.
It was Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah. Classic line has stood the test of time.
Yeah. May he continue to rest in peace because he is a legend. Oh yeah, the Street Fighter Alpha 2 SNES port. Oh my god, yes.
Oh,
like there's actually a fan patch that fixes a lot of the loading issues.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make it like really good? It makes it like a really good port.
It turns it from a mediocre port into a good port.
I kind of want to try that.
And I think the same fan patch actually took the character Sodom and changed his name back to Sodom, like in the English version, because they changed it to Katana in the English Super Nintendo version to be consistent with the fact that he was named Katana in the Super Nintendo Final Fight. He was also named Katana in the Sega CD Final Fight because Sodom is short for sodomy, so they could not use it. Also, in terms of other Capcom fighting games, well, obviously the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting games, Capcom vs. SNK, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, those games I played, but so yes, I just talked about how I played these games, but I haven't talked about how they compare to Street Fighter. Here's how I think they compare to Street Fighter. The Marvel vs. Capcom games don't. They're their own thing. Same thing with Tatsunoko. It's its own thing. Like the versus games, well, Capcom versus SNK 1 and 2, those play more like I said, half Street Fighter, half King of Fighters. That's pretty much just how it is. So like a good mixture of the two. Because the first game also is a 4-button fighting game because they wanted to accommodate the SNK characters. Because Neo Geo was only 4 buttons. Whereas CVS 2 uses all 6 buttons. And a lot of super hardcore SNK fans did not like either game because they felt that the SNK characters became Capcom characters that are just SNK in name and body and all that. And I'm like, in my mind, I don't care. I still enjoyed the game. Plus, SBC Chaos is a complete mess. I was actually tempted on getting a physical copy for Switch at PAX East, but I ended up getting something else instead. To be fair,
SBC Chaos. Sorry, go ahead.
To be fair, it's more or less it's not just rushed. It's the fact that SNK was coming out of bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. So they had to have something to honor the deal that they had with Capcom.
Moldy Goomba in chat just kind of put it perfectly. SVC Chaos is a visually amazing looking game. Like SNK sprite work is bar none the best, but it sucks to play. Like it's like you compare it to any of the King of Fighters, it's not even close to being as fun.
If they would have made an updated version of the game that ran on the Atomic Wave hardware that SNK would later use, added more characters, and made it a tag team game, I wonder if that was the original plan before they decided to pivot to Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. I would not be surprised if that was... Yeah, Neo Geo Battle Coliseum is a way better game than Capcom Fighting Evolution. Like...
A smidge.
Well, I'll at least spend a significant more time on that, though.
Can you play as Mars people in Neo Geo Battle Coliseum?
Yes, Mars people's in that.
Then yeah, it's a better game.
But also, but I will say though that how Darkstalkers compares to Street Fighter is the fact that this is how Street Fighter they compare to Street Fighter for the simple fact that it's basically Street Fighter with like B movie style characters, and it's still fun. But it's just the vibe. The vibe that you get from playing Darkstalkers is different, but it's still fun. Whereas like other games, like Cyberbots is doing its own thing because it's just like mechs, but it uses less buttons. But it's doing its own thing. Same thing with Techromancer. If I have it, the only other games that I would say that compare to Street Fighter from Capcom would be the Rival Schools games. But basically the fact that you have two characters that you choose from the first game, or three characters that you choose from, you can switch between the characters after each round, and go and focusing more on the game's story with like all these different schools. That said, they should have just put Rival Schools 2 under Project Justice as a subtitle, so people would at least know, be like, oh, hey, this is Rival Schools 2. I was wondering when Capcom was going to make one. But yeah, this is Rival Schools 2. It is Rival Schools 2, but that's what it is. But
it's weird that it was just, they just went with Project Justice. Because it doesn't even say, like, there's no, I don't, but game's good, though.
Yes. That being said, it's like, if you play Street Fighter, it's like you're gonna go to like a Dave and Buster's or a Buffalo Wild Wings, and you're gonna see a lot of people there just partying it up. But like the other Capcom, but unless it's Marvel vs. Capcom or Capcom vs. SNK, the other Capcom fighting games are more niche. Whereas like Street Fighter is like the mainstream game because everybody has played Street Fighter, everybody knows Street Fighter. So like going into a Darkstalkers is like going to a bar that where the bartenders are dressed up in goth, or for like Rival Schools is basically if you decide to go to like a fast food joint and a lot of high school students are like they're all workers there. That's basically just the vibe that's basically just like how you compare. Like I don't know what the hell I'm going with this, but let's just say
food analogies.
Different
I get it.
Different vibes for different games. And Caitlin in the chat says Project Justice gives her School Rumble vibes. Yep. Yeah, that's the thing, because fighting games are niche, but then you have like the big kids in the block, like the super popular ones like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, even Marvel vs. Capcom is like in that same ballpark, and that's what I'm saying. Like there's like a tier, like a different groups of fighters. Like some are like the mainstream, the niche, and then those that are in between that, like they're not like super mainstream, but they're not niche either. Like Guilty Gear is within that. Like more people know Guilty Gear, but it's not like a super mainstream game. But it's not niche in a sense where like very few people know about it. But then it's like
Guilty Gear's getting up there for sure.
it's been growing. That's the thing. Guilty Gear's been growing. Like that's the thing. Like fighting games need to grow. So there will be time for fighting games to grow. But yes. But yeah. Compared to Street Fighter is just it's comfort. It's like comfort food. You just want to play it. You just want to have fun. No matter what platform you're playing it on. Unless you're playing Street Fighter 1 on the DOS or like those old computers. It's actually even worse than the arcade game.
The TurboGrafx port of Street Fighter 1.
Tiger Electronics.
Oh god, the Tiger
Tiger Electronics.
Did you know that there was actually a Street Fighter Rock'em Sock'em Robots game made by Tiger Electronics?
Did not know that.
I actually had it as a kid. It's actually pretty fun for what it was. I actually liked it because that's how much I loved Street Fighter back then. Like it's just ridiculously fun.
Now that smartwatches are a thing, they gotta bring ports of the wristwatch games to everything now.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I will put this in the podcast guest room, but yes, this is indeed a thing right here. Yeah, it's basically like a tabletop game.
God.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yes, this is from 1993. Like it's between it's between that and those Mattel or no, it was not Mattel, it was Hasbro Street Fighter 2 action figures. Here's the thing. The Street Fighter 2 action figures from Hasbro is actually the reason why Ken ended up getting the last name Masters because
that's right.
To avoid getting sued by Mattel because Barbie and Ken because Ken originally did not have a last name, but they gave him a last name afterwards, and it ended up being canon. Capcom used it for canon, so it's funny how like between that and before we go to the next thing, I do want to address the major elephant in the room right now. So everyone already knows that the original plan was for the boxer to be named Mike Bison, and Capcom was worried they were going to get sued by Mike Tyson. So they decided to rename him, and then they had two other characters that are bosses. You had the Claw, like the Spanish Claw, the assassin, who in Japan was Balrog, but was later named to Vega, and then they used the name Balrog for the boxer Bison. But what about the Dictator? In Japan, it was Vega, but Capcom USA did not like the fact that he was named Vega. And then they decided that the name Vega was better suited for the assassin. So they took the name M Bison and gave it to the Dictator. So if you're talking to the Japanese players, you would have to say either Claw, Dictator, or Boxer. But the thing is, there's multiple boxers in Street Fighter. But like so that's another confusing part because people are like, which boxer? Are you talking about M Bison / Balrog? Or are you talking about Dudley? Or like even Luke, because of the fact that it's not really a boxer, but like he kind of capacity. Ed, yeah.
Ed now.
Ed, yeah. So they have multiple boxers. It's not just Balrog, but yeah.
I don't understand why they needed to confuse it even more by throwing in an extra character of this name love triangle.
and you wonder what's the funny thing about all this? It took until like the 2010s for Mike Tyson to find out about all this, and he said that had he known about it, guess what? He actually would have sued.
Oh my god!
And
he had no idea.
Yeah. And when he found that he had it was already too late, but he actually would have sued. It would have got to the point where like I think he actually would have won. So
probably
like a very
it's interesting. It's interesting too because like I know there was a point in time where I think Street Fighter, the lore behind it, Capcom was saying that M Bison was actually Mike from the very first Street Fighter, because he was also a boxer.
Yeah.
There was a boxer,
Named
named Mike.
Huh.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be. It's like that's his evolution. But then somewhere along the ways they said like, no, it's supposed to be a completely different character because you actually see Mike getting punched. What's from what it's supposed to be Cody Travers from Final Fight at the beginning of Street Fighter 2.
And the insert Street Fighter 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they have the two guys going at it, then it's just like, so they like just said like, nope. Like at some point I was like, oh, you guys do have story that can back it up. And then you guys say, nah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And then here we are. It just went all over the place.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. Because like, just the fact that could have actually happened. I wonder how, because Mike Tyson was in 1991 because he was coming after that major loss that he had to James Buster Douglas. That was like a big upset at the time because he was practically undefeated, and then that was his first loss, like his first major loss since winning the world championship at the time, and so of course naturally he would have sued because like he would want the money. So yeah. I don't know what that would have meant for Street Fighter. I think Street Fighter would have been all right. They just would have to change the names in a later game. So,
I bet what would have happened is they would have made the characters' names as they are, and then later on, like it's like, oh, we're getting sued by Mike Tyson. All right, we're gonna do Vega as the Claw and all that.
Have you ever
So
looked up the full names they gave the characters in Street Fighter the movie? So speaking of just Ken Masters, you also we can't forget you had Carlos Blanca, you had
Carlos Blanca, yeah.
you had William F. Guile, you had Chun-Li Yang. What? They had Charlie Nash, which actually worked out better. They had Edmund Honda, so they just said, what does the E stand for? And they're like, Edmund. So when you look up those characters, you're like, okay, thankfully they only went with Ken Masters down the line.
yep.
Carlos Blanca.
I remember
hearing that.
They connected it. Yeah, the way they connected it too.
You're gonna get a picture of Blanca, and you're gonna be like, why? And it's like that's what they called him.
Yep.
Edmund Honda's canon. Oh,
yeah. I'll tell you what's
Right, sure.
I'll tell you what's not canon. Guile's name is not William Guile. It's just Guile. And Chun-Li does not have a last name. She in the movies it was in the movies and the cartoon it was Chun-Li Zhang, but no. And she's not a news reporter. The one thing that they did get right about Chun-Li is the storyline where Bison killed her father. That's the one thing they got right about her. Oh,
it was Tuesday.
Speaking of the cartoon, did anyone actually watch that Street Fighter cartoon from like the 90s?
Oh yeah,
the Ruby Spears cartoon.
I watched the movie.
I've watched a good bit.
Quote him to this day, whether it be like "This is delicious,"
Yep.
or just yelling out Bison's name.
Yes,
Bison.
I used to watch it as a kid on USA Network, but what made me really want to get back to watching it was there was all those videos back on YouTube in the 2000s, and the reason for that is because they were called stupidity videos, which was actually made by a YouTuber named The Switcher, who would later be known as Matt McMuscles, because that was the channel before the Super Best Friends play was even a thing. But he used to do all those stupidity videos on like random cartoons from the 80s, 90s that were just so ridiculously awful. Street Fighter was the big one that he did. Like he did like multiple parts with different clips. And the show lasted until 1997. Because I remember the last season, like they were like the last season they were starting to add characters from the Street Fighter Alpha games. Just seeing them there, like the one that got me was the episode that has Sakura in it. Because I remember just watching these.
I don't think I saw that.
Like there was one with Sakura. There was even a Final Fight episode.
I remember the final fight. I've seen the final fight episode. I think that was the first episode I've seen.
Yes.
My Jessica.
There was an episode where Bison and Guile had to team up to fight Akuma.
That's cool. That's actually cool.
Yes. They had to put aside their differences just to fight Akuma. But in addition to the cartoon, there was also the anime movie, which was amazing.
Street Fighter 2, the movie. I watched that movie recently again, and for the first time. I watched it twice, and for the first time recently. It is amazing. That is cinema.
I first rented it from Blockbuster. There's two versions of it. There is the TV version of it, which took out a few. They altered and took out some scenes and changed some lines to fit for television. And then there's the uncensored version as well. But that being said, like that movie was absolutely fun to watch. Because I remember I was watching the Street Fighter cartoons around this time because they were still airing on the USA Network. But when I rented the VHS tape for the movie, like that just I felt even at the time that completely blew the cartoon out of the fucking water. It was that good. And fun fact, Fei Long was voiced by Bryan Cranston. The same Bryan Cranston who would be Walter White in Breaking Bad. He was also Hal in Malcolm in the Middle, and in some of the
weird cast to pick.
And he was also in some of the Godzilla movies from the Legendary Pictures movies
and Power Rangers.
Yeah, Power Rangers. Yeah, that's right. He voiced a couple of Power Rangers in the original show, and he came back as Zordon in the rebooted movie. So yeah, Bryan Cranston was Fei Long. And that movie was great. The Street Fighter movie was great.
Very good.
That said, I did not, and I absolutely refused to watch The Legend of Chun-Li. I've heard that movie was
not seen that.
I've heard that movie was awful. Like,
I unfortunately saw it.
From what I heard, it actually makes the '94 live action Street Fighter movie look like an Oscar-winning masterpiece in comparison.
They defeat M. Bison by knocking him off a roof.
Also,
spoilers.
Also,
I still couldn't get past the guy from Black Eyed Peas as Vega. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Also,
at least it mirrors Geese, but
right. That's what I'm gonna say, and he's blonde in this one too, right?
I refuse to watch that movie.
Yeah, I think he refused to like darken his hair or something. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
weird.
But yeah, like Street Fighter was pretty much everywhere. Like there were, although like now they'll just continue to just add more lore to the series moving forward. Like we're getting some single player campaigns in the games. Like Street Fighter V had was it a Shadow Falls or something? I forgot what they called it.
Oh God.
Yeah, they added it like
the Mortal.
Yep.
Like
exactly.
It's like Mortal Kombat 9,
Mortal Kombat,
X, all that. And then Street Fighter 6 had the World Tour mode.
World Tour, I think, is good. It's bloated, but I think it's good. I think it's a cool, different thing. I like World Tour.
Yep.
I was all hyped just because it took place in Metro City.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard, I was like, I'm in, sold. Let's go. What else? Come on, give me more.
And
like nonstop.
You could play as a version of yourself. You just make yourself and then give yourself whatever moves and fight people and call it a day. That's all you do. So
or you can make whatever Cronenberg abomination you can.
Look,
that character creator.
Max.
Yes. So now the next question I'll ask before we go to the community questions, and Menitta, will start with you on this one.
All right.
How much does Street Fighter mean to you?
So I mean, prior to 6, Street Fighter to me was always like, oh yeah, it's a super fun fighting game, and I like playing those games. But then Street Fighter 6 came out, and the whole theming of that was like searching for strength and being better, and it's like that was like around the same time I kind of needed something like that. So to me, that's just like, it's a motivator. It's always be better and stronger. And I think that's The Street Fighter will always be that to me now. I think that's awesome.
All right, awesome.
Kind of simple answer, but like I think I like to. That's what I like to take away from Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm. All right, Steven?
For me, ever since Street Fighter 2, I now see it as the basic palette to a fighting game, because you know you have everything from just how it flows to having projectiles, just the UI itself, how it's structured, and there's some games that just throw that out the window, because when you had all the copycats come out, like, you know, Power Moves, Deadly Moves, and all these other games, and you just like had all these, like, they all tried their best. Fighters History tried and got sued over it, and like everybody was like, we can make the next Street Fighter, and I'm like, well, you guys are forgetting certain key aspects. Like you're easily making these characters maybe vastly different, but then they just don't like meld well. And even though all the characters in the original Street Fighter 2 were so out there, you had a beast, two girls, you had, you know, just a guy in a mask that could climb a fence in his stage and stuff, but it all worked. And then when everybody else tried it, it just didn't go together. And now you look at the games that are succeeding now, and a lot of them owe it to Street Fighter because they're using the basic principles of it. So I've always used it as whenever I played a fighting game back then, I was just like, is this better than Street Fighter? Is this as good as Street Fighter? Does this feel like Street Fighter? It was unfair, but I was like, I'm sorry, this is the basic mold now.
Yep.
And then you could be like, no, but you can rip that guy's spine out. So.
Oh yeah. What about you, Eddie?
Street Fighter to me is just an integral part of, like, you know, me and my personality and my character. I just feel it's been around for such a long time, and I have some very, very good core memories that involve like my family, whether it be my mom, my dad, you know, my brothers and sisters and stuff like that. And then just being able to see essentially grow and become like this worldwide phenomenon. It's very pop culture, right? Because you see movies, figures, crossovers of everything that you see, whether it be like the recent Overwatch stuff or, you know, Monster Hunter. It's a Capcom game, but you're seeing Akuma crossing over there, you know, and the Blanca Chan Palico costume for your, you know, for your little cat character. So to me, it just, it means the world, honestly. And then the fact that as a streamer, content creator, whatever you want to, like, you know, go name it, it's incredible that I have the opportunity to like work with Capcom as a creator through their Capcom Creator Program. So to me, I feel like if it wasn't for Street Fighter opening that door for me, because that's like the earliest like thing I remember, that the logo of Capcom, the jingle that it popped out, like that's the first thing that, like, I didn't play Mega Man until like the X series came out. You know what I mean? So it was like Street Fighter was the first Capcom game that just like really stood out for me. And I feel like it opened up the door to so many other gaming interests and hobbies that I never thought. And yeah, it just blends everything together, whether it be video games, wrestling, movies. I grew up on the 80s, so action stars. When Van Damme, albeit he was not the ideal choice for, you know, Colonel Guile, I watched it because, you know, not only because he was Street Fighter, because it was Van Damme, and then plus all the wrestling connections and all that stuff. And you see those wrestling connections now. If you're a fan of AEW, you see Capcom usually works with them. You know what I mean? You see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks showing up as the Shoto characters in cosplay and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
They did, yeah. I would see that. Because they would like, they have worked together multiple times. There was even T-shirt, which I actually never got a chance to get that myself. But it was really cool just to see like the fact that they would go out of their way to do this collab. Back then, like having the two entities go at it and see just who would actually come out on top. That's just what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, to me, it's just one of those things where like it will always be top tier, top 5 games series for me. Like it just always will be there no matter what. Like I said, I will support it to the end, whether it's a good game, a bad game, where people agree with it. I will still pick it up, buy it, and give it my all. Put in X amount of hours and just give it everything. So no, it means the world to me, honestly.
Of course it does. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like it's just it's so good. Steven.
Oh, I already answered that.
Oh, you did. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, yeah. It's my turn. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, for me, guess what? It means a lot to me. Not only that, it's an easy answer to say, but the long thing to say is that it shaped a lot of my tastes over the years, playing Street Fighter in the arcades, on console, or even on handhelds. Like, I remember first seeing the Game Boy Street Fighter. I was like, wow, this is actually such a very decent port for what it was. It wasn't amazing. Like, it would make me want to play the console or even the arcade game, but I was glad it existed at the time. And the reason I was glad that they exist at the time is because it filled the void. Like, there was an untapped market to play these games on the go. And I thought it was amazing. But then, like, playing other games later on, seeing the evolution, seeing all these people go to these tournaments to play the games, going to like tournaments like Evo and all that, I absolutely loved playing through all these games back in the day. And just playing with my brother, playing with a bunch of friends over the years, going to the arcade to play random people much older than me at the time. I would play against them. Like, there was these people who were like in their mid to late 20s or like that I would play against, and there were times where I would beat them. There were times when they would beat me because different skill levels, different time periods that they came from. They've been playing a lot. You could tell how often people played versus how little people played based on what you would see. And I just could not get enough. It helped open the door for fighting games. Like that and a couple other fighting games did that for me, but Street Fighter was definitely a major part. Like, because when Street Fighter leading me into the Marvel vs. Capcom games, and Marvel vs. Capcom actually helped make me want to get even more into Capcom's other IPs, because the ones that I was the most familiar with at the time were Street Fighter and Mega Man. And it got me into pretty much everything. It got me into Strider. It got me into Captain Commando. It got me into games that were like that had characters that were assists. Like there was Three Wonders. There was Ghosts and Goblins. There was those quiz games and all that stuff. And then I would play some other Capcom games like Resident Evil, Ace Attorney, and all that. But because like because I did a Capcom episode last week, which Steven, you were on with that one too. And just like how much Capcom means to me, I just love playing their games. The same thing could be said about Street Fighter being a big one, because I always thought to myself that like if Capcom made like a definitive Capcom universe that where everything centers around each other, the main series, the series they would consider their number one main series would be Street Fighter. It would absolutely be Street Fighter. Resident Evil would be its own thing. Monster Hunter would be its own thing. Mega Man's his own universe. Ace Attorney's his own universe. But Street Fighter, you have so many different games
Yeah,
there. Final Fight, Captain Commandos in there, Strider, Rival Schools. If Power Stone exists in that universe, it was in the past. Same thing for something like Knights of the Round or the King of Dragons. If they exist in the Street Fighter universe, it's in the past.
And that
It's
is like sort of like a thing that they've talked about, right? With like Final Fight and like Captain Commando, that it does take place in Metro City.
Yes.
It's just years in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you first.
It's kind of like how SNK does the same thing, where like King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown, even Metal Slug. Those are all in the same universes, just in different time periods. Which is it's cool.
Which is why in King of Fighters that they made it so that it's an alternate universe, because just so that the Art of Fighting characters can be the same age as the Fatal Fury characters, so that they can fight on an even playing field. because Art of Fighting is older than Fatal Fury in terms of the time periods. But that will be for a future topic for SNK fighting games. But but for Capcom in general, yeah, Street Fighter's the centerpiece of Capcom as a whole. Because there was a question that was asked last week about like what are like the Capcom's most important video game series, and it's always the big three for them: Street Fighter, Resident Evil, and Monster Hunter. Those are their top threes. Like Monster Hunter is like their biggest right now. Second is Resident Evil, and then Street Fighter is third. Like sure, like the ones that I would say are behind both of those, like all those three would be Mega Man and Ace Attorney, but it's been a while since we had like new games for either. We only got ports, and I don't know when's the next time we're even going to see a new Devil May Cry, but Capcom is basically like just like going to continue to support Street Fighter. There was a dark period which to me started with Capcom fighting Evolution, and people were uncertain of the future of Street Fighter. Well, actually, no, even going into Street Fighter 3, because that was not successful. But, but like when Capcom Fighting Evolution came out, that did not help whatsoever. And I remember for a while, Capcom was reluctant on even wanting to do Street Fighter 4, but then Yoshinori Ono was like, he wanted it. And then it came out, and it saved Street Fighter. It also gave us a fighting game renaissance at the time.
Or saved that genre.
Yes,
like without a doubt, that is one of the most important games of that era. Like it revived that genre.
Yep. So, yeah, I love Street Fighter. But now, let's do the community questions. So we got a couple. Right. The first one's from Dragon. Which Street Fighter character was the first who really gelled with you for their playstyle, and are they a main of yours to this day? Yes, Ken. Easily Ken.
I guess I'll go.
Yeah, you guys can
go. So I remember when I was playing Cross Tekken, I really liked how Cammy played. I liked the kind of faster characters, and yeah, I do still main Cammy in 6. I played Cammy for a good bit in 5. Not my favorite character, but if Cammy's around, I will learn Cammy.
Mm-hmm. Eddie?
Yeah, I'm also on the Ken train because I don't know. Other than Ryu, he always like hit more, so I always felt like I was doing more damage.
Yes.
And the fact that they have eventually added fire to his kind of differentiated himself from Ryu until Ryu finally decided to go evil and have some electricity thrown in.
Yeah. Eddie?
Yeah, for me it would be Ryu. That was the one. It just simply because he was easy to play with. That's what it came down to. And I guess I was being ignorant as a kid, but I also thought he was like the Latino character in the series. I was like, yeah, he looks like me. So I like went with him. But it's just like, yeah, he was the one that I wanted it to be Zangief. I really liked the build, big burly guy, wrestling dude, but I didn't understand the controls. I had no idea how to play with him. But yeah, Ryu would be my answer. Yeah.
Yep.
Now I know. Now I get it. Now I can handle myself with Zangief and E Honda. But before I was just like, nope, I have no idea what I was doing. So Ryu was my guy.
Yeah. Lemon Square asks, who do you want to be in the next fighter outside of the past Street Fighter characters that they'll bring in the future Street Fighter 6 updates, if any, or new game? That's a tough question right there. Because there's some, like, of course I want Sakura to come back, but that's a really tough question to really answer, like, outside of her.
Outside of the past Street Fighter characters, that makes it kind of hard. It's like, I mean, for me, like, I just want them to come up with more cool new characters. It's like I could say I like Makoto. I'd like Makoto to come back, and I do, but what about a new character that I'll like as much as Makoto? What about that? Like, yeah, any new character. I think Street Fighter 6's new characters are great. They're
Yeah.
really, really strong. So
Like, I would personally think that they should come up with a character. How about, like, I'm trying to think of a fighting, like an actual martial art that has not been represented in Street Fighter, but I know for a fact that if I were to come up with one, someone's going to tell me that it's already being represented. Um, like, obviously, you got wrestling, you got boxing, you got
hmm.
kickboxing. Uh, do we actually have, like, what about, I'm trying to think of a really good fighting style to go
Because we
with.
have Jamie covered Drunken Kung Fu, which was missing before, I think.
Yes. So now we can actually have that. Oh, we definitely need to have an Australian character for sure. Like, I don't think we have any, so we should really have an Australian character. Um, what I would probably want is how about a character who who manages to mix up multiple fighting styles and just um he actually goes out of his way to just fight anyone and adapt. He could adapt to anyone at any point, or he or she or they. Like, I was thinking, like an actual mixed martial artist that could pretty much just adapt to pretty much any type of style. They can use. They can use.
Luke, right? Yeah, that would essentially.
Yeah,
be
Luke is kind of going for that more so in the aesthetics side, but Luke is kind of going for that MMA style look.
Yeah.
When you mentioned fighting styles, it immediately brought to mind. Have any of you seen the movie The Raid Redemption?
I have not.
Okay,
Yes, that I have.
So that is an Indonesian movie, and the main fighting style. I had to look this up. I believe it's called Pencak Silat, which is the fighting style that the main character uses. And it is one of the most brutal fighting styles ever. Like, we got Muay Thai in Street Fighter with Sagat, but I think that would be so cool to see, like an Indonesian kind of style fighting.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of what would be a good one.
So
Go
I
ahead.
agree with the community wanting Dudley because he's,
I want Dudley back, yeah.
he became the most popular boxer over all of them, and Ed's just Spider-Man. Let's be real, with half of his moves. But I think myself is, as much as we have enough grapplers, I still think they should complete the Final Fight trilogy, and whether, I don't know if it's a spoiler later in the World Tour mode, but I would love to see Hagar in his current form come to Street Fighter 6. He's the only Final Fight character, really the main one, who's been missing for me, who I'd like to see kind of, complete it. We've had Cody, we've had Guy. Why can't we have Hagar? We've seen Hagar in versus games, and we've seen Hagar wrestle. And I just looked it up, and we do have an Australian. He's called Alexander the Greater from Slam Masters.
Oh yeah.
They could put him in Street Fighter if they wanted to.
But even in the end, if they did put him, he still falls under the wrestling, like fighting style, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, he's got a pipe though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I have thought of one. There's one called Combat Hopak.
Combat Hopak.
It's basically like if boxing and kickboxing were dancing. That's not capoeira.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was thinking, like, I would link it to a character that is from the Ukraine. I don't think the Ukraine was ever represented in Street Fighter. That would be interesting. I'm trying to think, because you can have different countries represented in Street Fighter that's never been represented before. Australia is definitely one, for sure. I would absolutely like to see. I also feel like, not exactly, it's not a country, but more of a commonwealth. But I definitely want a character from Puerto Rico. I absolutely want a character from Puerto Rico, easily. But what I also want is a character who, if we were to take a character that is from a different Capcom series that's adjacent to Street Fighter, kind of like how Final Fight is, at that was never playable in Street Fighter before, because they added Lucia from Final Fight 3 in Street Fighter 5. So, how about this? How about if we were to add another Final Fight character? I've thought of well, obviously, okay, so Maki technically counts because she's in Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max, and I would like to see her come back, but
Maki's cool.
But what I also,
and she's in Capcom SNK too.
Yeah, I would also like them to have if they want to have another character, how about Dean from Street Fighter, not from Final Fight 3? Like, he's like the other character you play as from this, who used to be a part of the Skullcross gang, but then he left because he didn't want any part of it. He allied himself with Guy, Hagar, and Lucia. Also,
Yeah, more.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Also, a Filipino fighter.
More Final Fight they could totally do. Like that.
Yeah.
I remember the in-universe. Well, I don't know if it's in-universe, but like the lore, quote unquote, reasons that Capcom gives for why Hagar has not been in a Street Fighter is because, quote, Zangief and Hagar cannot exist in the same room.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous.
Yep. All right. So,
honestly, I feel like if I were to add to like the Final Fight thing, give us a surprise. If you don't want to give us Mike Hagar, give me Jessica Hagar. Give me her.
Oh, Jessica.
yeah.
That'd be awesome, actually.
And and give her a mask and everything. But then people would be like, well, it's Armika. There it is. Armika's Jessica Hagar.
I just thought of a character that they should add, and there's a really good storyline, but it involves bringing Cody back. Bring that stupid cop, Eddie E, whatever.
Oh, Pete.
Oh yeah, Eddie E.
Yeah, bring him into the game and do the storyline like that. There's a storyline that needs to be resolved because, he was the one that managed to like get Cody arrested.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the cop that you fought in that one match in Street Fighter V story mode.
No, I was talking about the one for Final Fight.
Okay.
Yeah. His gum.
Yeah. You eat his gum and you earn points, which is disgusting. But yeah,
5-second rule.
yeah. Anyway, so next one's from Dari. What is your stance on guest characters in Street Fighter? Is it an insult or a homage? The latter. It's a homage. I do not think that having guest characters is an insult at all. If anything, I welcome it. And I was shocked that it took a long time for them to actually do it. But I would like to see guest characters. I don't want to see too many, but I would like to see like a little bit more. Well, and Dragons is Mega Man for Street Fighter. Here's my thing. I kind of feel like the Mega Man from Street Fighter Cross Tekken deserves another chance. It's just that
I was gonna say bad box art Mega Man.
It's just that when he happened to come out, like it was not in a great time, like because we were coming off of multiple games getting canceled, including Universe and Legends 3. And it was just bad. Like the thing is, it was a funny joke that just happened to come out at a very awful time for Mega Man fans. Not that the current time is like great, but at the same time, like at least there's a lot more fan support now. But I will say
you can still tell Capcom cares about the brand for sure.
Yeah, it's just they're mainly doing like everything except a game, but that's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah.
But but I would actually like to see like some more guest characters, just not too many. What do you guys think?
So I actually compare it to the Royal Rumble. So just like the Royal Rumble, if you give me somebody from another promotion, awesome. I'm getting a matchup I never thought possible. I'm getting a crossover. It's great. But do not give me anybody from the celebrity wing. I don't want celebrities.
Yes.
The exception here, only because of his ridiculousness, is Salvatore Ganacci in City of the Wolf.
Oh my
But
God.
Ronaldo does not belong there at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Nah.
he's so forgettable. So you got to be careful. Please don't waste a slot or a DLC season pass slot on a celebrity, because you better be really careful that you just didn't get a paycheck out of that, because it can backfire horribly. But anybody else from other promotions, go for it. So I always like tell people, I'm like, give it the Royal Rumble treatment. Like, do you want somebody from another promotion, or do you want Drew Carey to come out again? Like, which one do you want?
So we're getting Ronaldo in Street Fighter now, huh?
No,
Dang it.
no.
So-
No.
I'm glad you bring that up, because the reaction towards Salvatore Ganacci in City of the Wolves, it kind of it like totally flipped. Like he's into it, and you saw that video where he sent Max a tracksuit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I forget the comedian's name, but the character in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, the Japanese version. Noromaru?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I feel like that's kind of like a similar vibe, like Norimaru in MVC, with Ganacci. But as far as guest characters in general in Street Fighter goes, I always kind of thought it was weird that, it would have been weird if there were guest characters in Street Fighter. I don't know why. I always felt the same with Guilty Gear as well. But here we are with Lucy is going to be in Strive soon.
Yeah.
But I think that they've picked the two best possible guest characters for Street Fighter that they could ever do. Like Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui, they are honorary Street Fighter characters at this point. Like they may as well be a part of the same franchise. Like they have had a seat at that table. They could not be, like, they fit perfectly.
Yep.
And it opens up possibility of CVS3, because
Absolutely.
they're getting the inverse in City of the Wolves, so we're eating good, so to speak.
We are. We absolutely are.
Totally.
Yeah. No, but
So,
I agree.
yeah, for me-
it's a thin line, honestly, when it comes down to it. Oh, sorry, cut you off. Go ahead and
No, I was just gonna say, like, but I mean, what you're probably gonna say, like, it's got to make sense, and that it's a thin line, totally. Like Terry and Mai in Street Fighter makes total sense. Negan and Tekken, I don't know. I don't think so, personally.
Yeah.
Lucy in Strive is I'm biased because I like Cyberpunk, but that's I don't know how folks feel about that one, but yeah, like it's just got to make sense.
It has to make sense. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what it really comes down to. It's like, if it's like Nintendo said, if it's from another promotion, I'm all for it. A celebrity, even it's that borderline, like I mentioned it earlier with AEW. If there were to be like Kenny Omega is in Street Fighter, and I'm like, why though? Like, there's really no reason for him to be there. Like, what is he gonna have? Like, what kind of moves? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
It would.
But yeah, like, I feel like it's an homage for sure. But it's also a very thin line where it can be insulting depending on which route you go.
If go ahead.
If you're gonna do like that sort of celebrity route, Kenny Omega in Street Fighter, this is a Lenny Sigma or something, like just a different
right,
like it's supposed to be Kenny Omega, but it's not. Right,
and it's like or to that effect, it's just like making some type of background character, like the announcer. From Street Fighter 6, right? Like you have Lenny Omega announcing the matches or something like that. Like, to me, I'll be like, all right, that's cool. But as a fighter,
the only thing I could think of, like, is if they would have put Mike Tyson in Street Fighter 6 and then they gave him a storyline where he fought, like they had to bring Balrog back and then they have Mike Tyson and then the two finally meet and they hype up this dream grudge match against each other to see, like, who is the better boxer, except the difference is that I think that Tyson would actually be like the hero, like he would play the hero in the storyline, because since Balrog is a bad guy, but he would also send Ed to fight Tyson as well. But it's like a guest character I would not do in Street Fighter would be like something like if they would have fucking put a South Park character in the game. How the fuck would that even make any sense? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Why would that even work? But it's like Mike Tyson, I can give an argument to make it work, but putting fucking Eric Cartman in there would not work. All right. So yeah. It's just I want guest characters, but they have to either make sense, and there should not be that many, because I want to see more Street Fighter characters, whether if it's new characters or characters returning from previous games in the series. So yeah. All right. Next one is for Professor Icepick. Do you think the West could ever produce a better adaptation of Street Fighter than the 90s live action film, let alone the animated movie? The thing is, I'm going to say yes, but I don't know if the team that is going to do the new one would be the one. I do think that there's somebody out there who's capable of doing it that lives like in North America, but I don't know about this team. And given the casting that I'm seeing so far, I'm actually kind of concerned about it, because you have Roman Reigns in that. Roman Reigns is Akuma. Like, why is he going to be Akuma? Like, that does not make any sense. Like, and this is they want to have a movie that has both Roman Reigns and Jason Momoa in it. Like,
oh my god.
Oh god, I just realized. I think they're gonna make Jason Momoa Ken. They're gonna make Jason Momoa Ken. Oh my god, no.
So I have a theory about that, and I think they're not gonna make Jason Momoa Ken. People are saying he should be Zangief.
No.
I think he's gonna be Honda. I think he's gonna get fat. I think he's gonna grow a belly. I think he's gonna try to play that version of E Honda.
You know,
Like,
that'd be something.
You should make him the Cali. There you go.
Oh, that's perfect.
oh my god, the color.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that. I was just kind of thinking he was gonna be Ken. But no. You know what? Okay. Nakali, sure.
See, I would turn around on Kenny Omega, or not Kenny Omega, if you talk about Kenny Omega, Roman Reigns in that movie, if they make John Cena Guile.
No.
War.
No.
See, that's the kind of camp I'm looking for. And John Cena is
I would give that to Cody instead.
Yeah.
Cody. Okay.
Oh, Cody would rock it. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that he's gonna have to put makeup on to get rid of that tattoo for the movie, like temporarily get rid of it, or like just to hide
Well, I
it.
meant like as the Final Fight character Cody, if they're gonna make have John Cena in it.
Michael Cera as
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera as Dad. Let's go. I'm gonna say this right now. Ryu is gonna be played by Chris Pratt.
Oh god.
Wow.
I'm joking, by the way. I do not want that.
You're throwing it out in the universe, though, so it might happen. Chris Pratt in the new
Then they'll get Seth Rogen as
Street
Blanca.
Fighter.
Seth Rogen is Blanca.
I spent hours firing Hadoukens. I spent years perfecting the Tatsumaki Kainaku. I can't pronounce it.
But
Tatsumaki.
to actually answer the question though, I think because I know that with this new Street Fighter movie, I honestly I'm gonna be honest, I feel like nothing will ever compare to like where that movie sits for a lot of people. Like for me, I love that movie. I think it is so stupid. I absolutely love it.
That being said,
I don't think.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say Ryu needs to be Japanese. Guile, I don't know who'll be Guile, but also I would prefer to just keep the characters as their actual like ethnicities. Like the Chris Pratt thing was just a joke, but in all seriousness, I do not want that whatsoever. I don't want that. I don't want him anywhere near Street Fighter, by the way. But
To be honest, like I wouldn't mind, especially if they're going with like the Street Fighter 6 story route, kind of like what you touched on a little bit. I wouldn't mind if they got Mike Tyson to be Balrog, to be like,
That'd be full circle.
He's past his prime and what he used to be. And this is going to be controversial for people, but I think because of his stature, he's the only one who could be like the M. Bison for me, and that's Alan Richardson. So
yeah,
from Reacher, because I feel he's so big that he would he would portray him just perfectly. All he has to do is cross his arms, and you'd be like, "That's Bison."
yeah.
I like Noble Boy 77 in chat. Vanessa Kirby as Cammy. That's good.
Also,
that's good.
Also, I want John Boyega to be Dudley.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Which this is actually going hand in hand with a question that Epic Man asked, which is, what would be your dream casting for a new Street Fighter movie? You're going to do a few characters. We'll get back to his question soon. We'll finish.
I felt they did make a good Street Fighter here in the West, though, because if you look at the fan films, I own it on Blu-ray. It's a Street Fighter Legacy.
Yeah,
That's right.
It was made by Joey Ansa, who was the director for Bourne Ultimatum. So he already had like kind of an action background. So I thought that was like a good representation of it. So like that's the direction they should take it, and stuff, instead of doing flashy stuff like Legend of Chun-Li where they come in and announce their names and stuff like that. I hate that.
I haven't actually seen that. I should watch it.
yeah.
You shouldn't. If you're gonna watch that, you might.
No, I mean Street Fighter Legacy rather.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you watch Legend of Chun-Li, you might as well watch the King of Fighters movies too, and Tekken.
Oh my god,
And Dead or Alive.
I've seen the Tekken movie and I've seen the King of Fighters movie, and the Tekken movie is basically like campy, but like it's what you would expect, just not great. And then the King of Fighters movie is worse, is much worse. Oh my god.
This is the only chance I'm gonna have to talk about this stupid KOF movie. Do you know who the actor is who plays Terry Bogard?
Who is he again?
His name is David Leitch. He is the choreographer of John Wick and the director of Bullet Train and Fall Guy.
Ooh.
So it's like, this dude remember your roots, kids.
Well, I guess everybody had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. And Ray Park's in it too. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, he's Rugal.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? But yeah, I do
Are
think
we answering that? Are we answering that question? Like, if we had to like pick a
we'll come back
dream
to
casting?
we'll come
Okay,
back
cool.
we'll come back to it because I want to finish this question. Like I do
Sure.
think that the West is capable of a better adaptation than the 90s movie or even the animated movie. It's just I don't know for sure if the team that they got right now will be the one. We'll see. Because it's still too early to tell. I'm not liking some of the casting right now, but we'll see what happens. That's all I'm gonna say.
I feel like this particular one, like I agree. Yeah, like they very much well could be a good movie, a good Hollywood movie for Street Fighter. But I think this one in particular is going to end up in a similar spot as the new Mortal Kombat movie, where like it's a fine, competently made movie, but it lacks the sauce that like the 90s movie had.
Not correct. Yeah.
And there's a weird OC that no one likes. His name is Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still didn't get that whole Cole thing.
Oh God. Like, all I have to say is, if you want this movie to at least be decent for Street Fighter, it needs to be a tournament. It needs to be about a tournament.
Mhm.
That's all.
Easy story right there too.
Enigma asks, what is your absolute definitive opinion on the tried and true classic Street Fighter 3 Third Strike? And why do you justify that answer in your own manner? Okay, so my definitive opinion is that it's my favorite game in the series. And why I justify it, I spent a lot of time on it. I played a ton of Third Strike. I could not get enough. I said earlier that it makes, out of all the Street Fighter games, it's the one that makes me the most happy to play whenever I play it. I love Third Strike. I love everything about Third Strike. The music is fantastic. The backgrounds, even for its time, I felt were the best looking 2D backgrounds of that time for a long time. Even when, like, especially if you put it in a CRT TV, it looks super high resolution at the time. It looked fantastic. Like, they were just pushing the hardware that it was on to its limit at the time, like the CPS3 hardware. Like, they maximized what they could every little bit. And the characters, there may be like 19 playable, 20 if you count Gil as a playable character, which he kind of does, um but the characters you have their own intricacies. This is a very deep game to play, especially with the parry system. So I could justify it by saying that, like, it's a game that I just love to play. It's so good. It's really good. What more can I say?
I use the quote "third time's the charm," both Street Fighter 3 and Third Strike, because for me, whenever I even watch people play it, even at Evo when they had that special setup, that amazing setup they got, so they had the best possible version of Third Strike, it's the most balanced game out there. And that's really hard to do with fighting games because they keep getting patches. Look at poor Tekken 8 that's going through like Patch-a-Palooza where, no, the patch is bad. Please fix it again. But almost nobody said that about Third Strike. Is once they got the Third Strike, they nailed it. And I feel for that, you get some of the best matchups out there. I never thought I'd see Hugo at Evo getting so as far as he did. It never like crossed my mind. I thought it was just going to be all like Chun-Li's and some Urians and stuff, but no, you don't get the mirror matches towards the end. You actually get like different matchups. So I'm like, there's very few games out there that have that pedigree where it's balanced like that.
Mm-hmm. I got knocked out by a Urian at Evo. For me, like, I always think about the hours I spent on Fightcade just playing random people, and like that is the game I will like. To me, Third Strike is, you know how some people are saying, like, whenever you mention Deus Ex, you're like, oh yeah, I have to reinstall Deus Ex. Like, that's a thing apparently, but like for me, that's Third Strike. Anytime Third Strike comes up, I'm gonna play some after this.
All right, Eddie.
No, I agree. I think as personally, it's one of the few, or like I guess I should say the least played Street Fighter game that I get into, but just because I'm terrible at it. It's a very competitive game. It's a very, like you said, balanced game. And I wish I could be a lot better and learn more of those characters. This is where sticking to Ryu, in my case, is my downfall. But I love seeing how much attention it gets because it's not a bad game. It's a great game. It's so I stand by it, and like I love seeing it. All the clips, all the classic clips that we see, the new clips that are made, and it's just great. It's just visually it looks great. It sounds great, and it's the one out of the three from Street Fighter 3 that really sticks out to me. So I'm all for it.
And if you want another justification of why I love Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, I'll show you why. This shirt right here, this shirt is a Street Fighter 3 Third Strike t-shirt that I got at PAX East from Fangamer's booth.
Oh, now I see. Yeah, that's cool.
So, if people want to know what is my favorite Street Fighter game of all time, Third Strike. Easily. And I could see that logo on your wall, Menitta.
Yeah, the LED light. I'm not going to turn it on because it looks bad on camera, but it's also this. I got this at Evo last year.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
A 3D pixel frame of Momo 37, and it's signed by Justin Wong.
Yep. No matter.
So cool.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about emo like emo and some fighting game moments in a little while, but let's go to Charlotte's question. This may seem like a silly question, but were there any members of the panel inspired to take martial arts through the Street Fighter? At one point, I did want to learn martial arts, but it was not through the Street Fighter. It was actually due to Power Rangers, which I've actually mentioned that in my Power Rangers podcast a few months ago. But I will say this though. The only reason I never pursued martial arts back when I was a kid, really, is because my parents couldn't afford it. My school had a weekly martial arts class, but I felt like I was not getting enough. That I would have wanted one that was more consistent. Every week, I would learn something new. Every week, I would go and simply learn, and I would keep learning till like I advanced to the next level, the next class. So I it wasn't from Street Fighter, it was from Power Rangers, but my parents could not afford it at the time. That's my answer.
Yeah, so with me, it was Street Fighter did have a bit of influence. I'm not gonna say it had complete influence on it, but I did take up martial arts classes. I did for about like 3 or 4 years, and it was mainly because of Jean-Claude Van Damme. So that's like the tie-in. Like it's like I say this all the time, and people will like laugh at it, but like the day Jean-Claude Van Damme is no more, I will take a day off from work. I will be very upset. I'm gonna watch all his movies. Like it's just I grew up on it, and my mom is the reason why. She was big on him, Chuck Norris, Arnold, Stallone, all the '80s guys, right?
Yeah.
But in hand, it's just like Street Fighter. You see them fighting. Van Damme movies, you see them fighting. So I was like, yeah, let me take up martial arts. And the art that I studied was an actual. At the time, it wasn't very known, but it was Kaju Kembo. It's a Hawaiian mixed martial arts style, and it encompasses everything. It's like the name Kaju Kembo stands for like Ka karate, Ju judo, Ke Kembo, Bo Chinese boxing, kung fu. Like this whole thing, and I made it all the way up to. I competed in tournaments like at the sports arena in LA and stuff like that when I grew up over there. Wasn't the best. I decent to where like I would make it at least like top 10. And then I was through that, I was able to meet the guy who played Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat movies.
Oh,
That was pretty
Robin
that was
Show.
pretty sweet. Yeah, I got to meet him. And then I also, which is super like weird to say now, like used to sort of train with Billy Blanks when he was coming up with Tai Bo.
Ooh.
Because of like the program that I was in. Like it was like one of those like how Shell said, it was an after school program, but they had it like 3 to 4 times a week. It was funded by like the LAPD, like to keep the inner city kids out the streets and joining the Mad Gear Gang. But yeah, it was just that's what I did, and I made it all the way up to purple belt, I want to say. And then transferred schools. Like I couldn't make the after school classes anymore. And my Sifu at the time was just like, dude, I'll train you. Like we'll work something out. But it was one of those times where like communication was weird. Cell phones weren't a thing. Scheduling things was like really different. He was based off of the school program. How do we do it? Now I got to pay. It's like, I'm out. I tried.
Yep. What about you, Steve?
I wouldn't say it would be Street Fighter that did it because I can't turn electric or anything like that. But it was definitely Virtual Fighter for me that got me interested in the styles. So I would even look into the different fighting styles because I was already a huge fan of Jackie Chan. But it's not like he was telling you what martial arts styles he was using at the time. He was just doing them.
Yeah.
And then when you play Virtua Fighter and you play as all the characters, especially in 2, you're just like, oh, what are these styles? They're very unique. The way, one's drunken style, one's very, very stiff, another one's wrestling. So that one got me more interested in at least looking into the styles. I was past the age where I could easily do that without like breaking a hip or something like that. But it was just fun to like learn more about the different styles used, and then you kind of can recognize them now in games that are still coming out.
Right.
For me, I I can't like similarly I wouldn't put it all towards Street Fighter, but I would put like the particular style, like what makes me want to pursue it a little bit more towards Street Fighter. I would love to take up boxing. I think boxing would be really really cool to do. And, you know, like I love the boxer characters as well. So like I think that yeah, at my last apartment in the apartment gym, there was a punching bag, and every now and then I just kind of punch it every just as I'm walking by, and I'm like, I want to do real boxing. I think that would be super fun, a really fun way to work out as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the next question comes from Epic Man. What would be your dream casting for a new Street Fighter movie? You can only do a few characters if needed. Now we're actually going to really dive in on this one. So dream casting for Street Fighter the movie. Let's see. If I had to think of any characters, I'm trying to think of who would be a good Ken. That's a hard one for me. Like, who would be a really good Ken?
Chris Pratt.
No.
Ryan Gosling.
Okay, to be fair, I would rather Ryan Gosling over Chris Pratt any day. But not him either. I would probably I would probably say, like, when I think about Street Fighter characters, all I know is that Ryu needs to be Japanese. Chun-Li needs to be Chinese. Because in Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li, she's white. Which makes no sense.
Another reason that movie sucks.
I would probably say that I definitely want somebody to be Zangief that has to be extremely tall, like over 7 foot. Same thing with Sagat. But casting would be difficult for both of them. Gregor Clegane.
He was the big mountain man in Game of Thrones.
Oh right, him. Yeah,
Oh.
him. Yeah, sure. He could definitely be Zangief. I would probably do. I'm also this. I know this character is probably not going to be in it, but who would be Rufus? Like from Street Fighter 4.
Rufus.
I can't think of anything.
Oh my god.
Also, a Korean
I don't like Rufus.
a Korean actress. Also, a Korean actress for Jury.
So I actually that was gonna be one of my answers. There's a movie that I watched not long ago called The Villainess.
Yeah.
It's a Korean action movie. It's not great. It's fine. But the lead actress of that, Kim Ok-vin, she was really good in that movie, and I think she'd be great as Jury.
Yeah. I will say. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that. I will say that that Ken, even though like he's part American, part Japanese, I do think that he like they'll get an American actor for him.
A lot of people don't know he's Japanese.
Yeah.
That's the thing. A lot of people just assume he's American. Like, you know, like, he's half Japanese. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It explains the eyebrows.
Yeah, his mom is Japanese. And his dad is friends with Goken, which is how Ken went to Japan to train with Goken. In terms of who should play who, that's the thing. It's really difficult for me to really choose. I definitely do not want Roman Reigns to be Gukuma. Like I hope they actually cast somebody else. Chris Hemsworth would actually like if Chris Hemsworth was in this movie, I don't even know who he would play as.
I would put Chris Hemsworth as Alex. I think that would fit.
He would need to have an American.
He was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he was supposed to play Hulk Hogan. and Hulk Hogan or Alex is based off of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
That works then. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he's currently dealing with a health issue as of a few years ago.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately.
chances of that happening are slim to none. Unfortunately. Even though it would have been cool. Let's see. Can't really think of a lot of people who should be who. Like if they would have actually done a Street Fighter movie in the early 2000s, if they would have tried again, I would have told you who my dream casting would have been back then. I think that the most ironic thing is that, like, since Fei Long is a Bruce Lee like XP, you wonder who I actually wanted to be Fei Long back then. In the 2000s, I would have said Jet Li.
Jet Li, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been Jet Li. Because people would have probably said Jackie Chan, but at that time Jackie Chan like was really old. I think Jackie Chan would have probably been Gen. He probably would have passed off as Gen.
Good. He would be great as Gen now, especially.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm seeing trailers for that new Karate Kid, and it's like, yeah, this is Gen right there.
Yeah, you know what? Jackie Chan is Gen. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Jackie Chan is Gen. I 100% am down with that. He would actually work now.
Slight tangent for Jackie Chan, actually. If this was in like the late 90s or 2000s, Michelle Yeoh as Chun-Li. Because her character in Police Story 3 is basically the exact same character as Chun-Li. And I think that would be a perfect fit right there.
Yep. And I would definitely be down for Owen Wilson as Ken, like, because I feel like he can pull off Ken being cocky.
Wow.
Where?
He would.
Wow, Hadouken.
Yes.
Owen Wilson as Dante and Vince Vaughn as Virgil.
Oh Lord, I'd watch it. Sign me
I would
up.
watch it.
Yeah, like with Ken, like, because they're not going to do Street Fighter 6 storyline this soon, but like, because Ken was cocky in pretty much most of the games. With Street Fighter 6, his demeanor changed because something happened with him, and he has to settle what he has to go through. So he's a lot more serious in Street Fighter 6 compared to every other game in the series, where he's just like very cocky, like to clown around, talk shit about other fighters. And he, no matter how cocky he is, he backs it up, bar none. Like, he backs it up. It's just that in Street Fighter 6, he fucked up, and he needed to fix it. He did not want help. Steve Carell as Akuma.
Steve Carell I'm a huge fan of Steve Buscemi as Fong.
How do you do, fellow warriors? I would have actually have
fellow Four Kings.
Honestly, you know what? I'll say this right now. I actually think that Guile should be Nicolas Cage. No, but seriously,
he'd be a good Bison though. I could see him as Bison.
Yeah, actually he would. That. He actually would. You know who could have actually been a good Bison back in the 2000s? And they probably would have given it to John Travolta back in 2000s. I think he would have pulled it off.
I could see that.
I could see it too.
That,
yeah. I was gonna say earlier because you brought up Jury. What's her name? Karen Fukuhara.
Yeah.
From The Boys.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see her as Jury. Like that would be like one of my. I feel like she's like just the perfect fit for it. Could be crazy, aggressive, yet at the same time she's got that beauty and sexiness to her. I feel like that for me is like bam, like that's a good casting right there. One for Cammy that I think she could pull it off because she's got like the build and the look for it. But I don't think she can pull off the accent is Katie O'Brien from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You guys know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm familiar with her.
Katie M. O'Brien. Yeah.
I watched that movie recently. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like her, I feel like she's like the build, the height, and it's just the accent. She's American, so I don't think she can pull off the British
Yeah.
accent, you know. But those would be my like two that I would like lean into. Like I'd be like, yeah, let's go for those.
Yep. All right. So
Oh, I know a good Ken. Henry Cavill.
Antonio Banderas is Dudley. Was it Antonio Banderas Zorro?
Yeah.
It was also Puss in Boots.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. We got one more question. This was from Caitlin. What are some of your favorite memories watching FGC videos on YouTube? It's not just Street Fighter, but I got one. Let me go look for it. It's a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 one, but it's like, let me look for it.
Oh yeah.
But go ahead. Feel free to talk about it. But I will say one thing real quick. The most obvious Evo moment that needs to be talked about is Evo moment 37, like the Street Fighter 3 Dirt Strike. You had Daigo as Ken versus Justin Wong as Chun-Li. And the famous parrying scene where the moment where Chun-Li is about to do her kick super and she's about to pull it off, but then Ken parries all of it, that he jumps up and then does his attack, then does a combo that leads into the Shippuden Rai Kyaku attack. And then the fans, the whole crowd goes nuts.
Have any of y'all tried to do the because in Street Fighter 3 Online Edition on 360 and PS3, there are those challenges. The last one is do moment 37. Have any of you tried to do it?
I cannot. I always mess it up. I cannot do it.
It's so hard.
Like, I wanted to do it. I gave up every time. It was so hard. Like sometimes I just want to throw my controller, but the controllers were expensive, so I couldn't do it. But that it just gets me to that point because it was really hard to pull it off. So
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So this was a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 one. It's Justin Wong. He had a Cable comeback where after he lost his two characters, his opponent had 3 characters left. There was a and then, there was a Sentinel, I believe, in that other team, and then there was also there was definitely a Storm in that team. All right, so
Wazzle them.
no, there was no. Sentinel, Storm, and Cyclops versus Magneto, Cable, and Doctor Doom. So Justin had the Magneto, Cable, and Doctor Doom team, and he ended up winning with the with the magic pixel, with Cable as his last character, and managed to come back. People thought that he was going to lose, but then he managed to pull a comeback, and everybody was just getting into it because they wanted to see, could he actually do it? And he did. And I believe this video was from, this video was uploaded in early 2006. So this video is almost 20 years old. But I think this might have been a tournament that took place sometime in 2005. Because remember, this year YouTube turned 20, so
that's true.
That's because I remember seeing that when I was in college, when I just randomly stumbled upon that, I was like, oh my god, that was just amazing. But because Justin Wong is always known for being the king of comebacks at the time, but people will never let him live down the whole Evo moment 37. They're never, no matter how hard he tries to escape it. I remember back in 2011, there was a charity tournament that he participated in for Third Strike. Guess what? The whole thing happened again. 10 years.
Have you seen that video of all of Justin Wong's streams where he was doing Third Strike on Fightcade for a while, and he kept getting parried with the Chun-Li super? It's this man is the victim of the most practiced non B&B combo ever.
At this point, at this point, it's a curse.
Yep.
Whether he likes it or
The
not.
fact that there was a whole booth full of these that he signed each one. This is torture.
The one thing that people should say to him is, whether you like it or not, you cannot escape that. Ever. You would never be able to escape that fate that you had. So what about you, Eddie?
So it's funny because I don't really have much, I guess, experience and history with looking up those types of videos. It wasn't like the one that always sticks out is Moment 37. That's like the one that I've seen iterations, people recreating them, or like music videos attached to it. But yeah, I wish I had more on that topic or the question. Normally nowadays, what I do watch is just like the training videos, I guess, where people are like, this is how you do this. And I'm just like, I still can't pull it off. Like, I don't get it. Why? But yeah, that's as far as it goes for me. Like, I don't really have something like concrete as a favorite memory or anything like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Steve?
So I have like a long-reaching amount of them because there's funny ones and then there's the serious ones. For like serious, it's mostly looking at now that Evo has their own YouTube channel, they've done their top 10s, and you get to see Moment 37. You get to see the moment in Blaze Blue when the guy got up, thought he won. And he
Oh my god!
Down. So
that was a Guilty Gear excerpt in 2014. I remember that, or 2015 rather.
So like you get like moments like that are just like some of these things will never happen again, or now like the Hugo moment that's taking over as the new moment over Chun-Li. So
Moment 38.
Justin Wong. But yeah, I'll watch Justin Wong too because even though I can't do half the stuff he's doing, watching him try just new tech with new teams in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that you'd never think would go together is really great. And then kind of borderline between serious and funny would be like shout outs to Maximilian Dude because I've been following him for years. One of my favorite videos of his is the out of pocket FGC moment that he does.
That's a great video.
Where like somebody even in Skullgirls plays Happy Birthday and like did the time with Big Band from Skullgirls to do all the button combinations for that.
Yep.
Then past that, like Shellshock touched on before, would be like the Stupidity series if you like the cartoons and you want to see how bad they got. And then because of Max, I've been introduced to other people as well, and I've started watching a channel called Lethero that does Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Lethero, yeah.
We call it shenanigans, but it's just funny because they even animate the models to say stuff, so it's really well done.
Yep. Yeah, I'm familiar with Lethero. I mainly watch Matt McMuscles. I watched Maximilian. I've been watching Maximilian since 2011 when he was uploading like those videos of vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because it was new at the time. And I would watch his videos here and there. Like I watch his streams every now and then as well. Been a fan of him for years. And I've seen like a lot of other people. I have yet to meet Justin Wong, but I was actually in the presence of him like multiple times in different events. Like I remember being like the closest I've ever actually been to seeing him was actually at Nintendo New York for Pokken because because at the time like they were trying to use him as like the ambassador for fighting games that comes in to play Pokken because a lot of newer fighting games they just want Justin Wong to be there, try to like, so fighting game fans will be like, oh hey, Justin Wong's playing this, maybe I should check this out. And then Pokemon fans would be like, oh, let's check this new game out. Like I remember seeing the world champion of the Pokemon trading card game at the time, like one of the like multi-time world champions, Jason Klasinski, who won multiple world championships in the Pokemon card game, go up against Justin Wong, and yet Justin Wong easily kicked his ass. Because
I remember that tournament. Yeah, it was like half fighting game players and then half Pokemon card game players. And it was like I think Justin did win, but it was like a pretty even Like it wasn't totally one-sided,
Yeah,
which was kind of cool.
it was basically like they were doing it to try to get the crossover between both communities together. That's what they were going for. And the thing is that Justin Wong does have that crossover appeal. He's done like fighting games outside of Street Fighter. He's done Mortal Kombat fighting games. He's done like so many different and when he streams, there are times where he would play like the weirdest fighting games you've never heard of before. And
Junkyard.
Yep. Or like, and also going back to what you were saying earlier, Steven, like you mentioned both deadly moves and power moves, because I was watching a video last week from Matt McMuscles
Worst fighting game ever.
Yes. Very, very mediocre to bad fighting games that nobody remembers. If you want to know what is one of the worst fighting games ever made, because the first game in that series that he did was Criticom. That I played that game. That game is an awful fighting game. It was for the original PlayStation. I believe it was a launch title for PlayStation or like after launch. It came out in '95, and I just don't understand. How do you even play that game? You could barely do special moves. Sometimes, like you use the buttons to attack, and they don't hit. They do not hit at all. Like sometimes they'll rarely hit your opponent. I don't understand it. But and the thing is, there's only one round. If your opponent rings themselves out, you win. Vice versa.
You just win.
You just win and move.
It's not like. I mean, it's like Soul Calibur, but one round.
Like the character that I used looked like a fucking BDSM character. That was just ridiculous. Like they had like these weird characters.
It's called Criticom.
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 Like they were. It was supposed to be like a '90s fighting game, but the type of theme they have is more sci-fi because they take different fighters from multiple planets and they have them face each other.
This reminds me of Biofreaks.
Biofreaks.
Yep, I see that.
Biofreaks is a better game. I'll say that much.
Wow.
Biofreaks.
That is a scary sentence.
I'm not kidding.
I'd rather play Criticom than Rise of the Robots.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Rise of the Robots is also there.
No. You wonder what's worse than Rise of the Robots and Criticom?
Oh,
And Caitlin, if you're still in the chat listening to this or watching this, there's a game called Balls 3D for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Balls 3D, where all the characters are made of balls and you fight. Like the characters were actually made in 3D pre-rendered and then ported to Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. The game was awful.
Can't believe that.
what do
game
you
has
mean
fatalities.
this is? I've heard of this game. What do you mean it was a fighting game?
And it had fatalities.
Because this game,
Yep.
because this game came out in 1994. Like, because everybody wanted to have their own fighting game because Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were selling so well. Everybody wanted a piece of that fucking pie, and
God.
at least like Virtual Fighter and Tekken and Dead or Alive had the right idea to just, instead of taking a piece of the pie, we just bake our own. Although Tekken technically took Virtual Fighter's pie at first, but they didn't make it their own until 3. And Dead or Alive took Virtual Fighter's pie when Virtual Fighter was Virtual Fighter 2, but then they made it their own in Dead or Alive 2. So on and so forth. Like, that's the thing. Everybody starts off by doing a variation of a fighting game that exists, and then they just do their own afterwards. So,
Yeah, Virtual Fighter gave us Fight for Life, and Mortal Kombat gave us Tattoo Assassin.
Mortal Kombat also gave us Kasumi Ninja for the Jaguar. The one where you have this character named Angus who uses his kill and throws fireballs.
Yep. Lifts it up, fireball comes out.
Yes. The 90s were weird when it comes to what type of games they wanted to make. Everybody wanted to make their own weird fighting games. There was supposed to be a fighting game called Bloodsport, but it got Bloodstorm, but it actually got canceled. I believe that's the one that had Daniel Pesina as Johnny Cage. I'm not sure if it was that or a different fighting game where he was an advertisement.
Yeah, it was Bloodstorm because they showed him playing the arcade machine in the ad, giving the thumbs up.
People thought
That's when he was having issues, with the Midway folks.
yes,
Yeah.
like people thought that he was fired, but no, like he was already having issues because he was actually suing Midway for royalties around this time.
Oh.
So that ad came out after the fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if that ad is what made Midway kill off Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 3. But
Oh yeah, for 3, yeah.
and it's like for Tekken, like Tekken 3 was where the series really shined, even though Tekken 2 is peak. Tekken, like Virtual Fighter to me, like 2 was amazing, 3 was a step down, but it got better like with 4 and 5. I'm looking forward to the new one. Fighting games in general.
6 is gonna be good.
Fighting games in general, like there's always gonna be a place for fighting games. Like fighting games are in a pretty solid place right now. It's not perfect, but it is in a much better spot than it was back in the mid 2000s. But basically,
Mortal Kombat Annihilation or Armageddon rather was the only thing there at the time.
Mortal Kombat Armageddon was garbage. Oh my god!
Oh yeah,
like that. I'll defend Deadly Alliance and Deception, but Armageddon sucked.
Armageddon.
We also had the Street Fighter EX series, which Street Fighter EX was fun. I didn't play much of 3, but 1 and 2 were good.
I hear 3 is the best one.
Yeah, you got to give it to the Eureka guys because then they went on to make their own stuff.
Yeah, Fighting EX Layer. Like there was another fighting game called Fighting Layer from which Namco published it. It had a few characters from Street Fighter EX in there with a bunch of original characters.
Skullomania, my beloved.
Skullomania is in SNK Heroines.
That's right. Yeah.
Because Terry is in Fighting EX Layer.
But to go back to the original question about FTC YouTube's on video, on YouTube rather. I owe my enjoyment of fighting games to the Super Best Friends.
Yep.
With their their massive enjoyment that they express on the podcast, but also their weekly series Friday Night Fisticuffs and Saturday Morning Scrub Lords.
Yes.
They just every Friday they would play something, and it was just that became a tradition for me. I would always watch that video every Friday, and then that kind of translated now to I watch Bully versus every Saturday with his show Get Into Fighting Games. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt for it right now.
Nice.
Nice.
That for me, like those boys, watching them play all sorts of fighting games, and just that's the kind of vibe that I look for, where it's like they know about it, but they're just having fun, and I think that's what I like to watch on YouTube when it comes to fighting games.
I do want to also add, like, if you ever have a lot of time to spare and you just want to sit and learn all about an entire series, Thorgy's Arcade is brilliantly done. His Darkstalkers retrospective was amazing. So they're long, so get ready to sit down and like watch feature length, but they're really good.
I love like Dorky's Arcade is amazing. Like I've watched them. Like there's some YouTube channels I want to get into. Like there was a channel that I'm kind of like starting to get into because they had some retrospective on a couple of like different fighting games. Babe Ruthless is one. She's still pretty new, but she has a couple of decent videos. But like, because after the Super Best Friends play broke up, the closest thing to Super Best Friends that's still going now is Yo Video Games. Like Max, like with Max,
that kind of vibe,
yeah, the same vibe. Like Maximilian and his friends, like all getting together to play different. Like they do more than just fighting games, but at the end of the day, fighting games are their bread and butter. And
they're awful console best game lists.
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
But
still,
which I will say though that I could probably do a better one of those like awful like console best games lists. But the main console I want to do more than anything, and I'll figure this out at some point, is because the fact that we're about to go into the Switch 2, Nintendo Switch would definitely be the big one. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, everybody's going to have their own list. I wouldn't mind also doing one where it's the top 10 fighting games of all time. Like, and speaking of top 10 lists, if you want, I want to give a shout out. Like, it's not really fighting games, but I do want to give a shout out to this YouTube channel. If you want top 10 fighting games lists, or just top 10 video games lists overall, not just fighting games, but just overall. Good Vibes Gaming, GBG. They do top 10s every week. Every single week they've been doing it. Though they record it, but patrons get to watch it early for 1 week before like it goes live. Like the most recent one they just uploaded is the PSP one. So they do top 10s every week. They're going to be doing top 10s up until like they'll even do a top 10 for Switch 2 before they do a top 10 because the main goal is to eventually lead to the top 10 games of all time, because everybody's going to have their own list. But
absolutely,
for fighting games, Street Fighter will always be up there for me.
Guys. Oh, Street Fighter.
Oh my God, guys, God bless the ring.
God bless the ring.
Not that bad of a fighting game. Like,
it's not that bad.
It's like
it's not great, but it's not that bad.
You want to know what's a fighting game that people shit on that I think is actually a lot better than people make it out to be?
What's that?
I'm a Castlevania Judgment Defender.
I love that game.
Yes.
It's the one for the Wii, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's on the Wii, yeah. I learned that that's developed by Aiding, who did Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Bloody Roar and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the costumes designed by the Death Note guy. I was like, all right.
Yep.
That's true, yeah.
You wonder what was a game that Aiding did recently? They did Pikmin 4 with Nintendo.
I saw that on their Wikipedia page. I was like, what do you mean they did Pikmin 4?
They got around, but like Aiding, I think, but Aiding was mostly known for like the Bloody Roar games. They would do a lot of these. They would do some anime games. They would do some crossover games, but they did Tatsunoko versus
Naruto Clash of Ninja.
Yeah, they did Naruto Clash of Ninja with CyberConnect. They did Tatsunoko versus Capcom, and both Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And they also did Marvel Infinite. Like they pretty much just what happened?
Oh, sorry, and DNF Duel very recently.
Yes. Like fighting games in general, like the fact that we still get them to this day in Street Fighter, like it's on its 6th mainline entry with like DLC still coming out. We're probably gonna get like a new DLC pack on Summer Game Fest. I think we're gonna see season 3 Summer Game Fest.
I think so too.
Because that's where we've seen season 2 last year when they revealed Bison. So that's their good.
That amazing animated trailer, yeah.
Yeah, which is
because we're weeks away from E3 season.
Yes,
so.
Not E3 season, but yeah.
Oh God.
I use in quotations.
Yeah. It's funny how
Summer's Game Fest.
It's funny how
is that what it is?
Yep. It's funny how Summer Game Fest now is like it takes place the day after the Switch 2 releases. So that's gonna be a big week.
And you have Microsoft on June 8th, and they already announced 2 giant titles in Oblivion and Gears. So what are they going to show us now? They have to show us Switch 2 games.
Which I'm going to say this right now. I will not be watching the Microsoft Showcase live.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. But if there is, I will stick to Nintendo Directs, but I will watch the Summer Game Fest live.
There's a rumor they're dropping a direct either the week of or week after the Switch 2, which I think would be brilliant if they do.
If they do it, it's mainly to give the Switch 2 more momentum. I feel like that's a good move to do it. All right, we've been going on a big tangent. Like it's all about Street Fighter, but we've just been bouncing around. But yeah, Street Fighter, been around since 1987. It's gonna be 40 in 2 years. So Capcom's going to continue to give us more Street Fighter for as long as possible. So, so that being said, that is going to do it for this episode of Sharing with Shellshock. And I am really happy to have talked about Street Fighter with you guys. And once again, I have to thank the three of you for being a part of this. So Eddie, Menitta, Steven, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Before we start signing off, Eddie, where can we find you?
You can find me on pretty much every social media platform under the name Eddie_Fuerte. That includes Twitch, Instagram, Blue Sky, the X app. Yeah, pretty much anything. That's where you'll find me. I have been taking a bit of hiatus from streaming, but I do plan on coming back soon now that work has settled down a bit and I can breathe again. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, Menitta.
So yeah, I'm on Twitch, Blue Sky, YouTube. Pretty much just as Menitta, Menitta.
Mm-hmm.
And I am on Twitter too. I don't use it, but I am there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right. Steve, where can we find you?
You can find me just about every week on zenspath.com. We do a podcast, talk about the recent news. Other than that, social media, N1 Nintendo without the H on the end, as in Twitch. If you just take N1 Nintendo, that's my Blue Sky. That's also my gamer tag on all the systems. On Discord, it's the same, but they made me put a period afterwards.
No.
Don't know why. And yeah, find me lurking around those.
Yeah. And of course, you can find me pretty much anywhere within the stratosphere, whether if it's like, but I'm mainly more active on Blue Sky and Discord, but otherwise, in terms of content, Twitch and YouTube, where I stream daily, like Monday through Thursdays from either 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern up until midnight, with the occasional Friday and Sunday streams. So the next episode will be taking place on Sunday, June 1st. And that one is going to be an episode that's dedicated to Nickelodeon. So we'll be talking about Nickelodeon in that episode. And joining me for that are the Epic Man, Mr. Ben, Rick from the D-Pad, and Kurt Dog. We're going to talk about Nickelodeon. Like, we're going to talk about the like all the shows that we grew up with, the different eras and whatnot, and much more. So June 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to talk about Nickelodeon. Once again, Eddie, Menitta, Steven, thank you all so much. It was a great episode, great talking. So I will see everybody next time. Make sure to take care of yourselves. Be awesome. Stay awesome. Tell your loved ones you love them. Check on them as always. Fight for everlasting peace. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. And y'all have a wonderful night. Good night, everybody. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching Sharing with Shellshock Season 4. Your name will be inscribed in the pages of podcast history.